and welcome back to Drinks and Discussions, which I think my community has nicknamed Dirty because you can't call it D&D, so it's Drinks DR, Discussion DI, so it's Dirty. And they're like, Wrath, you're dirty, so it fits. And I was like, yeah, I'll accept that. So now this is nicknamed Dirty.
Dirty.
So welcome back to Dirty. I'm here with Adis. Tough Nuts won't be able to join us this morning, this afternoon, this evening. More people hopefully will be joining throughout the show as we go, as it usually is. Now I don't know. Did you bring any discussion topics this week that you wanted to discuss? Because I did.
Yeah, I might have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I got some. Normally, if you guys don't know, we show up to these things and we just kind of make it up as we go. No one really. Sometimes people come in with like some pre-generated questions, like ready to go, but usually just kind of open house, kind of free for all. But I've got a couple things I wanted to discuss. So first off, I think the biggest one is last week's one shot. So if you guys don't know, last week it was last week.
Yeah.
We ran our first one shot. Now this is just we spent 1 week where we just kind of put together this work of art, this masterpiece.
Beautiful.
And then another week we had my good friend and co-star, not my co-star, but a co-star of the podcast, and I took that personally, Chison. He came on and DM'd it for us. What a guy, what a pal. The fact that he could make anything of that nonsense, I was pretty amazed by. Yeah, I think he did well. There is some stuff he took out and some stuff he kind of changed, which I knew took us by surprise. For example, the point where Tough Nuts was like jumping on the boards trying to find the hidden tunnel that we had written in, and Chison was like, "There's no hidden tunnel." And Tough Nuts was like, "What?"
Wait, and we all started punching things and throwing things.
You could tell we were confused. We're like, well, there's a hidden tunnel. No, there wasn't. So he changed it up, but if you guys are curious, you guys can go watch the last episode, which will already be posted. Yeah, it's not posted on YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube. If you guys are watching the live stream now, it'll be up on YouTube, I believe, this Saturday. That episode will go up, and you'll be able to catch it. But in the meantime, let's discuss it. So, what did you think? I mean, it was our first one-shot, so everything from us writing a one-shot. How did that go? I mean, to be fair, that is not at all how I would write a one-shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was just us being goofy.
We were just messing around with that. Yeah, that was, and I think Pickles brought up a good point when we were kind of doing a little after-action report discussion on what went on and how that he was asking Tough Nuts and I if that was like our expression of what we look for in a D&D. And that was, and he brought up a good point though that it was very rough shot, and I think that's kind of what we meant by it. Was all right. We have 3 hours here to put together something to go and play a week from now. So we had
to make characters as well. So we only really have characters. 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it kind of felt a little rushed there. But I think end product, as far as just like a fun, like, hey, we're going to get some drinks together and do something on a Monday. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah. I was thinking because I mean I know Pickles and Chison were both very confused by it. They came in and they're like, "What is this? This isn't what I wanted. This isn't how I would do it." Blah blah blah. And I was trying to explain. I was like, "It's not how any of us would do it. It was just kind of a what do we call it? That thing where you write in random answers.
Oh, Mad Lib.
Yeah, it was just a Mad Lib. I was like kind of hosting it, and I was like, let's just have fun. Give me a this, and we're like that. Okay, cool. And then it was just kind of inside jokes and stuff like Def Wang, which I think got changed to Defwong because he didn't.
Defwong?
Yeah, he wasn't there for the inside joke. I thought that was even funnier. Things like the Valley Girl Knowles, which he did bring in. I was very impressed by that. Having Chison do a Valley Girl accent was it's worth watching the entirety of the show just for that part. So, but yeah, I know when Pickles came in, he was like, "Is this really what you guys want?" Like, he's like, "This is this is you guys showing me that D&D 5e is worth it, and I was like, that wasn't the goal at all. No.
No.
Like, if I wanted to show you that 5e was a good system, I wouldn't make us go fight Valley Girl Knowles who are like trying to steal beer for a supercomputer. No, what? No.
No, yeah.
So I think
No,
everyone just kind of came into that with a different idea, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that was like the major hiccup in what some people were coming in with the like their notion of what it was going to be versus what it actually was.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's common because like
Yeah.
I've noticed with like this show, people ask me in the Discord, they're like, "Well, what's it about?" I'm like, "We just talk RPGs." And like, "What about? Like, what's who leads it?" And I'm like, "No, we just talk." Like, what's and a big question I get? What's the topic this week? I'm like, "Why, you got one?" Like, they're like,
Wanna bring some up?
yeah, they're like, "What's your niche?" I'm like, "There isn't one." You're, and I've heard after. I mean, we've been on this a month now. We've been doing the show, and I've heard people have been trying to niche it. They've been trying to pinpoint it, and they're like, "Oh, it's a show about this specifically. Like, this is what you guys do." And I was like, "No, that's just what we did that week. Like, we did that." Even like there was a point where Pickles came in at one point, and it was he. I mean, he showed up for like the last hour. He was like, "Oh, that's what the show was about," and I was like, "That was only 1/3 of the show. The other 2/3 of the show were completely different." Like, he's like, "Oh, there's more to it." Like it. I even got on him and some other people at one point. I was like, "You're not going to niche my show. Like, I'm not allowing you to push us into that corner. Like, that's not what it's about. I'm keeping it open because it's supposed to just be a talk show where you could show up and be like, let's talk Sims,' and I'll be like, all right, we'll figure it out."
Okay, it's an RPG.
We've had a episode where we talked about all the different. This is gonna be interesting. We're gonna get. I mean, hopefully we'll get to the point where we've had like 100 episodes out there. And we'll be like, remember that one episode where we talked about like Sims about the, it'll be interesting when we get to that point. But yeah, that was a big thing with the one shot. I think everyone kind of came into it with a different idea, and I think the only people who really had a fair shot at it would probably be you, Tough Nuts, and myself, because we were there at the start of it, and we were just kind of like, well, let's make something, because the original idea came from Mr. Pickles.
Yeah.
To do a one shot at all.
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Am I correct in that?
I think it was like tossed around a couple times. I think it started with like I want to say maybe it might have been me or Tough Nuts that that initially said like, "Oh, let's do a one shot," and then jokingly, and then Mr. Pickles took it later on and kind of was like, "Well, let's actually kind of think about doing this." And and we actually started to really think about it. We were like, "Oh, well, we might be able to do something," and then it kind of evolved from there.
I think we even, and I'll get into this here in a little bit too, but I think we even got to the point where we're like, okay, maybe we do like a one shot every couple of months and like try different systems and let other people DM so that way we can like get a rotation of stuff. And there was also at some point over the course of the last month where we've been talking about this is there was even a conversation brought up about having a continual one shot similar to Harmon Quest, if you're familiar with that. Where at the end of the episode we sit down for like we do like the episode for 2 hours or whatever, and then we sit down, we do the one shot for the week and have it be a continual one shot to where you play the same characters and you get to see kind of an evolving story. But it isn't like a built campaign. It's a one shot by that DM, and it's just loosely tied together. So you're like, okay, last week we were in, I don't know, we'll say we were in hell fighting demons. So then this week we're going to be, I don't know, going to the next layer of hell. And then the next week you're going to DM, and you're like, okay, this one, maybe to get to the river Styx, we're going to have like a river one shot. And like, or maybe this week they get saved by one of the gods but pulled into a different reality or a different like region or something. And it would just be that DM for that week gets to kind of do whatever one shot. They just have to make sure they tie it into the loose knit story so far. And I sincerely apologize. I have to go get my DoorDash order. We are back. I apologize sincerely. Anyways, as we were saying, we were talking about the one shot. People coming in with different notions or ideas about what we wanted to go into it with. That's where we left off.
Sorry.
I think that's where we left off, if I remember right.
Yep. That's about it.
So yeah, I guess let's talk. Well, I got more topics I want to get into that kind of branch off of that, but I really would prefer if other people had shown up. But let's figure this out. So if we went forward with a one shot, we would need like there's the two ways we would do it, right? So we talked about how there's sorry, I'm still gathering all my thoughts from that little interruption. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will cut that out, but I had to run and now I'm back and things are jumbled in my head. So there was the two conceived notions, the two thoughts that we had. The one that was brought up was having a one shot occasionally with rotating systems, DMs to try different stuff, new stuff, blah blah blah, right? The other one being a end of show, we come together, we play the continual one shot, right?
Yeah.
So, would you favor either of those?
I think I would favor the continual one more than I would favor the multiple different types, styles, all that. And reasoning being, I think if we go with that first option of doing just different ones every month, then I think we would start to end up with a little bit more of what happened last time. We have to change the entire system we're playing under, which changes some aspects about the story, changes the characters, that you have to rebuild a new character every time, which I think would start to get to be a daunting task, I would think, especially based off of the results of our test run.
Now, again, it's hard to base it off our test run because that test run was kind of just kind of a thrown in the air and see what the papers fall. But yeah, so I would agree. It's got pros and cons each way, and one of the things to go with that would be with the one shot every couple months trying different systems and stuff. You would have time to prepare. You'd have time to make characters and stuff and do all that. You could have like 1 week where the DM comes in and he kind of discusses that system. Like, hey, I've been reading up on this system. Let's talk about it. You could have another week where like, okay, let's make characters, and then you could have another week where it's like, okay, we're gonna play the game now. That could even be one shot a month at that point, where like
that's
it could work. But I also kind of favored at the end of each session, we continue the one shot. However, that one has a big dependency, and that would be we would have to use the same system, and that means anyone who DMs it would have to use that system. For example, if we chose D&D 5th edition, Pickles won't join.
No.
If we use Space Future Traveler, you and Tough Nuts would be like, I'm alright, So that's where the big dependency is going to lay as far as what system do we use if we go that format, right? Yeah, so Pickles and I got to talk about this, and we're like, oh, we need to bring this up on the podcast to see what others think. Unfortunately, it's just you and I, so that's an unfortunate, but also a fortunate because we have the entire deciding vote here. They didn't show up; they don't get a vote. So, where we go with it now? With last week's one shot, it taught me that we would work as a group and we would be able to do it. I think we would have to have ground rules as far as, don't quote unquote fuck off too much because we're on a very strict time limit. Yes. Like, You've got an hour to get through this DM's one shot. It's the Normally, I think this is the big difference with D&D or with TTRPGs. The players are the stars. They're your cast of your show, and they are the ones on camera. They are the stars. I'm the writer. I wrote the script, but how often do you see the writers on Game of Thrones? It's not. It's the cast, right?
Yep.
So, in normal TTRPGs, your cast is your stars. In these one shots, I don't want to say they're not, but they're not. And it's the DM is the star. The DM is the one who's like, hey, I'm going to showcase you this game, and you get to enjoy my little 1 hour story. It's like a short story versus a whole book, right?
Yeah. I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that brings up a good point, but I think the point there is that I would actually kind of disagree that it's a the cast or the stars of it, because in D&D, from the stories that I've heard, from the podcasts that I've listened to, from now the 2-3 games that I've played, it really is a storytelling exercise where both parties have to contribute. You have the director and the cast, and they have to work together to fit it within that time period. So you have to, as a player, be willing to make some sacrifices of rule of cool to kind of help the story. Whereas, and then it's on the writer to make sure that they have a good story that the players want to follow, and rewarding that following of that story. So that, but I mean, it does kind of come back to, if we're doing something like that, we would definitely need to fit it closer into that time frame. And I know what you're saying with the the players are going to have to be understanding of the fact that they can't be messing around too much if they want to get to the whole story that that the DM has presented, or prepared, I should say.
Yeah, and I think you caught me on that one. I think you're right. I think I may have misspoke when I said, they're the stars, the DM isn't shown, and then vice versa. I don't think that's accurate. As I was saying it, I don't know if you could tell, as I was saying it, I was kind of doubting.
I don't know if that's right.
I was doubting myself as I was saying it. I was like, I'm just going to go with it, and hopefully he doesn't notice. He noticed, rightfully. So good on you.
All in favor. Cooperation.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So in D&D, it's a lot more loose cooperation, and that, like with King's Crossing, you guys spent 2 hours of our 3-hour session in the first intro paragraph, and we didn't even get to the actual game that I had prepared. And that was perfectly fine. It was actually awesome, because we couldn't do that. But in a one shot, I'd be like, what the fuck? We haven't even gotten to the game yet, guys. Stop.
And Tiamat comes in, re-roll your characters.
Yeah. It would be like, okay, we gotta lock it down. Yeah, be more in sync. Bye. Is that Backstreet Boys? No, that's in sync. Bye.
Yeah.
That's in sync. I think I nailed that. Old moms, tell us if that was correct. Shout out to the old moms out there who were into NSYNC when. Anyways, I think I just insulted people. I don't know. So yeah, going forward, I mean, we would have to have ground rules. We would have to have some kind of idea of. I think the biggest issue is going to be the format, because I brought this up because Pickles has prepared a one-shot. And he is working on a fantasy one-shot based off our discussions in prior RPG podcasts, where you guys were talking about how you guys enjoy more the fantasy aspect versus reality or future aspect, right?
Yep.
And so he's been working on a fantasy one-shot. However, I was like, oh, what system are you using for your one-shot? And he said he made it up. That's basically what he said. He called it Pickle World or something. He was like, I just made up a system, and he went in to send me this paragraph of explanation of how it worked. And I was like, okay, that would work if we went with the occasional one shots featuring different systems, different DMs, so on and so forth. You could do that. If we went with the continual one shot, that means every DM would have to use his made up system. I don't know that they're going to agree to that.
Yeah.
It could be a really simple system, and maybe everybody will be like, hell yeah, like, let's do it. Or it could be like, I don't want to learn a made up system. Like, just use a real system, you know? That was the other thing that I brought up for him. Character progression, level ups. How do you do that in a system that's completely made up?
Unless you thought about that and actually built the system of, all right, we're going with an XP or we're going with a milestone sort of system, then
that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
There's a guy in the Discord who's building an entire system, and he says he's been working on it for like 5 years and like has a team of all these people. And I was like, yeah, that's way too much work for me. I'm not that invested. So that's where I don't know what format do we go with going forward. That's by the end of today's episode. That's what I hope we get down to. Which format should we use? So, do you have thoughts, pros, cons, either way that you would lean, or I know you can't speak for him, but you have an understanding of Tough Nuts. What do you think? What do you think from what you know of the other people, mainly Tough Nuts, but other people? What do you think they would want to go for?
Yeah. I think if we were to break it up and have sort of a formatting system, even if it's like along the lines of, hey, we're going to spend a month and a half just going over this new, going over like the new system, what the campaign is going to look like, the character creation, all that, and then have, like, say, let's do like we could say like maybe we spend. So if we're going to do this in the last hour of the podcast, then maybe every 7 or 8 podcasts or so, we'll go and do the one shot. So that way we have time to introduce the new system, go over any questions that we have about the system, create the storyline of the system, create the characters for the system. I think that could work, and I think that you bring up a good point of it gives us some exposure to different ideas and things that we would want to play. So I think Tough Nuts and I would be much more into like trying out some of these like modern and technology ones if we know that we just have to do it if we're not locked into a full campaign.
Yeah.
So I think the kind of like I'm trying not to split the baby here.
I lean both directions. I mean, I can see it going either way, so I'm kind of torn. Because, like I said, yeah, that would totally work. I mean, the idea that I had for this format would be, we do, what was it? So, God. So for the first like hour and a half, we're just talking, usual podcast style. Mm-hmm. Then for an hour, straight into the one shot. We cut over to the one shot. We do the one shot for an hour. And then you've got 30 minutes to do kind of any wrap up, talking shout outs to all our projects, or, if we go like 15 minutes over in the one shot or whatever, you've got some wiggle room. Yeah. And so that's the idea that I had. So it would be an hour and a half of podcast, an hour of one shot series, and then give or take 30 minutes, With that, yeah, I could see you going either way. I mean, you could do one shot a month or even every 2 months to give it like a break in between. Try different systems, try different character builds, try different DMs. Every DM has a different DM style. We talked about that with Tough Nuts. He noticed he ran one game and he was like, wow, we have a very different DM style, which is perfectly fine. Pickles taught me how to DM, and we have very different DM styles, which is weird. I don't know how that works, but it works. And so with that format, I don't know, it's exciting. Like, I could see it totally working, and I feel like it would be a lot easier.
Yeah, and I could see it. I could see that being a lot easier to get people on board with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've kind of tucked ourselves into a circle back to.
Yeah, I feel like that might be the
the better one.
Because the pros that I have for that is having a continual character. Is like, I make Rathnar, and he starts as his level 1 mobile. It would be most related to Harmon Quest. I hate to keep bringing that up, but if you guys don't know, go watch Harmon Quest. It's great. It's phenomenal. Big podcast. Very, very enjoyable. But it would be very similar to that, where they, we have a. Granted, in that one, I don't want to say it's one shot because it's really not. They have a continual campaign, but each episode could be a one shot.
Yep.
And so, that's how ours would be. Each episode could be a one shot, but if you tie them all together or put them in a series like they do, it tells a story over time. And we could do that with different DMs, with different styles and all that. It would be interesting to it would be like one artist coming to an easel and drawing something quick, another artist coming to the same easel and drawing something with it, like adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, and eventually, hopefully, it would make something cool. I think the biggest problem there and the biggest holdup is going to be people agreeing on the system they want to use for it.
Yeah. And that's where I was kind of getting to with this splitting the baby deal. We could end up starting with the going and checking it around to see what the different ones are like and how people are feeling on each different system. And then eventually we're going to run out of systems to go and play through. So maybe at that point we can kind of put all of our things together and say, all right, which one do we think we want to go with for more of a prolonged Harmon Quest-esque sort of campaign?
Yeah, that might be good, especially since no one. I think I think I agree with you. I think we've kind of talked ourselves into option A, or whatever. It makes the most sense. It seems like the simplest to get started. No one has to lock in and decide a specific, okay, we're locked into this and we can't really change. So hopefully it works. This, we could keep it more loosey goosey, which is kind of what we do with this podcast. So kind of think it fits the bill.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole thing is Tough Nuts and I. So far, we've only been exposed to Zweihander and D&D 5th edition. So I have no idea if there's another one out there that maybe I like more yet, because I just haven't had enough experience playing in those systems.
Yeah, that's true. I think it would be cool to try new systems and all that. And I get really nervous about new systems because it's oh god, I have a lot of stuff I gotta relearn, and how does this work? I'm gonna look dumb, whatever. But Pickles has been such a huge help for me because he jumps systems he's
regularly.
Yeah, he's a hot potato. He's okay. Now we're on this. Now we're on this system. Now we're on this system, and it's oh, okay. I get whiplash, jumping around. But it's also nice because I've gotten the pleasure and the honor of being able to try all these different systems and see what I like. And and that encouraged me to go on to Zweihander. He never DM'd Zweihander. I've never DM'd Zweihander. I've never played Zweihander. But I was I want to find a system that works for the story I want to tell. And Zweihander worked for my setting and my style. And so I got the courage to go try a new system, and I've run a successful adventure out of it. And now I'm running my second adventure with you guys. So that has helped me a lot, and so hopefully it would go on to help other people. But even I'm trying to Pathfinder. We'll just throw out a random system. Pathfinder's out there. I can't remember if I ever DM Pathfinder or not, but we'll just pretend I haven't. Okay, I've never DM'd Pathfinder, but I want to increase my DMing skill. And say you want to increase your player skill. So you're I've never played Pathfinder. I've never DM'd Pathfinder. Let's run a one-shot, and we can both grow and get the experience and learn more. Or vice versa. Say I don't know, say I haven't played that much D&D 5e. Sure. Say you're I've gotten a little bit of experience with 5e. Let's try, can I try DMing a game?
I'll try it.
Yeah, one game, it's nothing, it's not like you're locked in, you have to be super nervous, oh god, I have to run a 5-year long campaign. Just run a game and see how it goes. I think it would give anyone the opportunity to do something like that. Whereas if you have a continual one shot, it would be a lot more. It shouldn't be any more pressure because it's the same idea. You just come on, you do a one shot, but I feel like it would have pressure because you have a story and you have characters who have been going on. So if you kill those characters or you ruin the story, that's on you. And I feel like you can't do that if you have a regular one shot, right?
Yeah.
Players might die. Doesn't really matter because it's a one shot.
Yep.
Like, oh, well, that was cool. Sometimes you lose. Or you could be like, wow, my story completely fell apart. That's okay because it's a one shot.
Yeah. I did not see that challenge rating.
Oh my god, that happens. I've talked about this with King's Crossing, my first group that went through, featuring Mr. Pickles and Fred, playing Grunkle and Torvekik. They went into a fight. It was with some bandit guys. And the bandit guys... Oh man, this is the problem with running new systems where you just don't know everything. They were a challenge... They were supposed to be... They're rated a challenge rating of... God, you have to remember. I think it's one bandit at this challenge rating would face 4 players. Like 4 players versus this one bandit would be a fair fight.
Yeah.
I read it wrong and had 4 bandits versus 4 players.
Versus 1.
So they needed like 8 more players to be equal or whatever it is. Or 12 more players to be equal. So it would have been a super unfair fight. But then I also misread how I'm supposed to run these NPCs, and I ran them as like basic shitty minion characters, and so their challenge rating was completely nerfed. And so now the whole system's fucked. Like, they're completely fucked, and the balance, yeah, it was terrible. And I was like, oh my god. So that was my first combat experience with this system, and I was like, I completely fucked it. And now I still didn't get to test anything to get an idea of how the balance system works because it was completely off and wrong. So now I need to run another combat and test the balance system.
Dial it in.
Yeah, except then I had them. The second fight was then going up against these basic shitty minions, right? Mm-hmm. Except I didn't rank the shitty minions down to shitty minion level like I did with the bandits who weren't supposed to be shitty minions. So then once again, it was completely fucked, and my players almost got wiped out by these shitty minions. And they're like, "We're gonna die," and I was like, "No, you're supposed to be killing them by the hundreds." And, and then my players were scared to go anywhere. They're like, we're going home. Like, I don't want to be in this forest anymore. Everything's going to kill us. And I was like, no, you're supposed to be heroes.
For the healer.
It was not a my bad, but I learned and I got better at it. And so then I threw some new players into it and almost made them drown in the ocean. So
yeah. One of them almost started a fight with the bugbear fleet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's one of those narrative things where it's like, this isn't a fight you can win. There's 2 of you, you have a little dinghy, and you're sitting in the middle of a fleet of warships. This is not a fight you can win.
And he kicks you in the face off the edge of the boat.
You're like, we summon the gods to our side. I'm like, oh shit, roll for it. Nat 20. Fuck me. Alright. Apparently you can win. That's one of those things where it's like rule of cool and stuff. Like, that's so cool, it just happens, screw it. The gods show up. Like, this is like a end of campaign fight, and it happened in episode 1. And we haven't even gotten through the intro paragraph. That would be wild. Can you imagine? Yeah. That'd be wild.
That would have been a lot. And I could, after rewatching it, I could tell what you were doing with like, all right, so they let the chain up. Now you have to use your piloting skills to not hit their boats on the way through. I was like, now that I look back on it, I was like, oh, you were trying to like stop us from going through.
I was doing everything I could to capsize this boat or like get rid of your boat, because the whole sentence started with, "You lost your boat on this trip. How did that happen?" And you're like, nah, we're going on an adventure. I was like, what? No! Okay, there's like crash or something, and then you guys were like rolled successfully, and I'm like, what the hell?
God God damn it!
This isn't working at all.
Stop it!
Oh man, yeah, that whole thing was completely. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, episode. It's weird because I have two groups going through it, so it's not like episode 1 and episode 2 because it's
1B,
episode.
I think.
Yeah, it's episode 1 for you guys, but they already had an episode 1, so then I had to go through and rename all my old ones to be episode 1A, 2A, 3A for their group, and then you guys are 1B, 2B, so on and so
2B,
forth.
Yep.
So it's it's 1B, 1B.
1B.
So King's Crossing episode 1B is what you guys are looking for on YouTube. It's out there. It's up. Did you like that video?
Yeah.
Okay, it had one like, and I was like, I wonder if it's you.
I also showed it to my mom, and she didn't. Apparently she didn't like it.
She didn't like it. She just doesn't like D&D. Oh, she didn't like the video.
She didn't like the video.
Oh, you mean she just hated it?
No, I mentioned that to Tough Nuts IRL, and he was like, "Why did you show that to your mother?" Oh, she's getting interested in D&D.
Cool. She can come on and be a player.
There you
go. At least we weren't on there like, okay, and then I want to get a girlfriend. What the hell? Who's this?
What the hell?
Is that Mr. Pickles?
That's my intro song.
What the hell?
What the hell?
Who's this?
Guy. The man is in the house. Hello, Mr. Pickles. Welcome.
Well, thank you. That's a much nicer intro.
You're welcome.
Go back to the other one.
Yeah, we didn't actually.
I kind of like the first one.
Let's do a quick round robin here of who we are. We don't need to go into a ton of detail. I'm Wrath. I run games here on the channel. You can check them out. I also post stuff on YouTube. I've been in the D&D TTRPG scene off and on for like 15 years. DMing for, I don't know, maybe 12 of that off and on. That's me.
Yeah. I'm Adis. I'm a new player to D&D. Do a couple of things on this channel. Also have a IRL group that we're doing it with Tough Nuts, another one of our members here on the, what do they call it? The Dirty podcast.
The Dirty podcast. Yeah.
And then I've played MMORPGs and listened to podcasts about TTRPGs for a while, but it's only been about 2 months since I've joined the actual playing scene of our TTRPGs, so quite new. I'm the fresh face on the block.
And I'm Mr. Pickles. My story starts when I was born, and it all went downhill from there. And I guess I run a podcast and I do D&D stuff as well.
Nailed it.
Oh,
yeah, so Pickles, let's catch you up on what we talked about because I'm curious your thoughts and I know we've discussed some of this so far. So let's see. We started this out discussing last week's one shot. So Adis, can you give us a quick summary of your thoughts?
Yeah, so a quick summary of my thoughts on the campaign last week was I think we went over this a little earlier. It was very much a kind of Mad Libs. Let's make an entire campaign and create the characters all within a 3-hour period. So it was different.
Grab bag. I think grab bag is another term where you just like have random words in a hat. Like, okay, now we're fighting this. Yeah. I wasn't impressed by it. I was impressed by Tryson's work of it.
Yes. Yes, 100%.
I wasn't impressed by the one shot, and I think it wasn't built to be an impressive thing. It was built to just, all right, fuck it, let's just have some fun.
Yeah.
But something we brought up. Actually, before we talk about, what were your thoughts on it, Mr. Pickles?
I had many, many thoughts. And my first one was the most intrusive, was just, does everybody hate me? I keep getting
something
thrown into
we'll get
rooms.
to.
Like my own teammates are grabbing me. The DM said that my character was the only broken one that he caught. I guess like unplayable. I think he said, and I'm like, I don't remember having a lot of input there. Man, yeah. But the elements I really did like. I'm glad you're here, Adichie. Is that the proper pronunciation?
Adis. Yeah.
Adis. That's right. Adis.
Adichie.
Adichie.
I couldn't remember how anybody said it the
Medicinal.
moment I needed to know.
Medicinal.
Adis.
Yeah.
Adis. Yeah.
I really enjoyed how much you picked a character idea. It was very silly, and you kept it the whole way through. I'm forgetting the phrase for it, which I should know. Since
You
I'm
called him
podcast.
it. You called him it. You're something. You
Daddy-o.
1920s drunk.
Oh, yeah.
ogre or
1920s,
something.
like Drifter, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You called him it. You're silly. You 1920s drunk ogre or something. I can't quote
It
it.
was
But
like 1960s.
Yeah, that sounds like something I would say.
I was laughing so hard.
I realized early on that my character was the most wise as the drunken monk, I think. And it was like, uh-oh, I should be the only one aware of things. But yeah, I really liked how you picked it and you played it the entire way through. You didn't break character. And yeah, that was the most flavorful of our characters, I think, just because the daddy-o kept coming. And I had my off-brand father son, but that was just building off of you. I really was impressed with Chison, and he took the material and he also like picked characters, and it's like, oh, that's what you guys, not me, wrote for him. Like the Valley Girl. It's like, oh no, oh, he's doing it.
That's
like,
why
you can't be mad at him.
I told
it's just
him.
like,
it's worth it.
Yeah.
Go back, watch the one shot. It's worth it just to hear Chison do a Valley Girl Knoll.
And he's a great GM. Like that was, I think, my first time playing in a game he was running, and yeah, absolutely fantastic. I have full faith in his talent. Like with that kind of material, it is so impressive, because to me, I would just say, do you guys hate me? Why are you giving me trash? No offense, but yes, intended, I guess.
So first thing I wanted to address is your character. So your character, you're like, I didn't have a whole lot of say in it. No one did.
Yeah, no, I got that.
When we were if you go back and you watch our character creation, we're all just sitting here like, that one, click that one. And like, no one had the only person is Brando was trying to build a character. And he's like, oh, I want this. We're like, no, you don't get to choose. Just throw that one and like scroll really quick and we'll just that one.
Yeah, I checked to see, like, because I like that took me like by surprise. I was like, oh, I thought these were my choices. So you guys made your characters, and now you're making my character too. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was
it's
just
one of those moments like, what the hell?
Throwing darts at the wall and where it landed.
I'm sorry, like if I offended anybody, was what I was thinking. It's like, God, what?
Well, you chose your race, and like you got some.
Yeah,
input
even
in
I
this.
hated me. That's the weird thing about that. It was like,
but when Chison was like, oh, I had to change your character because you wouldn't have been able to like do damage with your attack. Neither was I. If you guys remember, he laughed at because my weapons weren't finesse weapons, and like I wasn't doing any damage. But that wasn't the point wasn't to do damage and have a good character. The point was just to be a goofball. And
and I get that.
Yeah, like my stats weren't good. Like my stats were completely wrong, and I didn't care. Like it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna throw stuff. So when you're like, you guys were just throwing me around. First of all, I was throwing you around. They weren't throwing you around, and that's because
I wanted them to throw me around.
Well, my entire character concept was, I just throw stuff.
Yeah,
that was it. That was my entire character concept. Where he was some 1960s whatever. All I knew was throw stuff. That's the only idea I had for my character. And so when you came into the game, I was like, I want us to bond. One, because I like you, and two, I just wanted to get you into the game, like get you playing and stuff. So I was like, I throw you. I pick you up and I just and
I pulled the pretty girl's pigtails.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't like I'm bullying you or like harassing your character. It was like let's be buddies.
I'm just flirting with you by pulling your pigtails.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And I still cried to my parents.
But let's talk our what we brought up, and I think the biggest negative about that one shot is I think everyone came into it at different points of time with a different idea of what it should look like.
Well,
Because the only people who had a fair advantage at that, I was saying, was Tough Nuts, Adise, and myself, because we were there at the beginning where we all showed up on time for the podcast, and we're like, none of us knew what the plan was for this one shot, so we all just kind of made it up. We're like, all right, like let's just start, and then people could join in as they show up. Not your fault. I mean, I know people had to show up late, and people can come in whenever. I'm just saying we were there from the beginning, so we kind of had the advantage of understanding what the hell we were doing, even though none of us knew what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
But the idea being, like, when you saw that and you were like, this isn't what I had in mind, perfectly understandable. When Chison saw it and he was like, what the hell is this? When Brando was like, oh, we're level 20 characters and like we're playing D&D 5th edition, we were like, okay, like none of us ever, that wasn't, everyone came into it with a different idea of how it should look like, and I think that was one of the biggest negatives, in my opinion. Because, like, I admit it, I agree. I don't think it was a good one-shot. Like, it's not how I would ever write a one-shot. It's not how I would ever want to run a one-shot. It was just a bunch of friends having a drink and being like, oh, fuck it, that one! Yeah, do that! But,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess I would say the biggest flaw of it was, to me, the system felt inefficient for what we were doing. In the sense where I had this massive character sheet, level 10, so it's massive to me, okay.
Me too.
And I just have all of these abilities. I know Monk generally. I've played Monk in 3rd edition, so I'm somewhat familiar with. They have key points or chi points or whatever, and they.
I think Chison corrected it. I think it is key.
Okay, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chison. Yeah, so I know you have that currency. You spend it on your things like Flurry of Blows or your Stunning Strike and whatnot. So you have options, but it's like trying to go through that at the game is daunting when it's a lot of things. It's like still mind. Okay, well, I don't know what to do with that. And it's like clicking things and reading through, and I have so many abilities. Mm-hmm. And what it made me wonder is, for one-shots like this, wouldn't it be easier to use 5th edition still, but at a lower level with multiplied resources? So say you start it at level 1, and everybody says, well, oh no, I only get 2 spells. Well, why don't you just do it level 1, but you have 10 first level spells per day? Or maybe do the same for Barbarian Rage.
You still have the same amount of spells, but maybe more spell slots to use those 2 spells.
That's exactly what I'm saying, is you have more use of it, even though you're the low level, just for the sake of the one shot. Like, so that it's more manageable. And as like Chison said, if you're level 20, you're just going to have Wish. You can wish away a lot of problems. And I think that solution scales down, like, the lower you go. So you could say, we want a level 10 challenge, like, have those be our limit of abilities, and then still multiply the resources for that one shot to make it so you can be... I don't know. I'm sure that there's somebody out there going, no, Mr. Pickles. The balance is going to ruin it for you there. And I don't know.
We won't know until we try, really, unless someone's a pro here, which
I'd rather just be using Burning Hands nonstop if I'm going to play a Fire Mage in a one shot.
Yeah, just
I don't want to be limited.
I have 10 uses of this level 1 spell rather than I have 1 use, and like, okay, now I need a long rest. We don't have time for a long rest. It's a one shot.
Yeah.
Well, then I never get to use it again.
What are your thoughts, Adise? Because you probably have more experience in 5th edition, maybe? Well, actually, we might be equal.
I mean, based on, like, I don't have more in-person experience, but I have, like, watched podcasts and listened to podcasts that use 5th edition, so I do have a little bit of that. But, yeah, so I would say, I mean, the the thing you're talking about with like more uses of like the lower level stuff, I think that is a good idea to go with. You would just have to be careful about like other classes where maybe like so like the one obvious option is like ones that don't use spell slots, like a barbarian or something like that. But then
Barbarian
you might
has
like
rage.
they do have rage, but
What about fighter? Fighter doesn't have anything like that, do they? They don't have any like battle
no.
They
surges or
have
action surges.
they have
At level 1 they don't.
second wind to gain more health, and they have action surge, so that they can do a whole nother action round.
Okay,
yeah,
well, you could just multiply those. Yeah. Well, you could do a level 2 game. That's the thing, is it wouldn't have to be 1 necessarily. You could set your limit and be like, no, I want your level 3 so you have access to these spells.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big thing. So we came into this with, hey, let's just make some characters and play the game, right? One of the people was like, we have level 20 characters. And I was the one who fought against that. I was like, why? I won't know what to do with that. Like, you guys thought our character sheets were a lot with level 10 characters. Level 20 would be like 3 times that. I wouldn't know what to do with all that. Like, I don't know 5th edition anyway, so give me a 14-page character sheet. I mean, like Pickles, I got into the game, and I think it was at the end of the game that I started seeing stuff that I could have been using. I was like, oh, I have this. That's cool. Like, that would have been nice to know. And that's not on anyone's fault. I just didn't review my character, but to be fair, I was using a high-level character that, it's like joining WoW for the first time in your life, and you're level 100. And you're like, what do I do? I don't know what any of these... I have 14 hotkey bars? What? Yeah, like that wouldn't work. And so I fought against that, and I was like, let's go like level 5. And it ended up getting negotiated to level 10.
That makes sense.
So that's why that occurred. So I
agree.
Good.
I will say, like, getting used to these, because I've seen how play happens, and I've kind of gotten used to the in-person where you have things physically. That's also just because I like things that are physical.
It's so nice.
So yeah, so I'm actually trying to get used to like some of these online games. I'm like trying to click around and like, all right, maybe I need a second tab over here just to kind of figure out what my character can do, and then kind of relate that to what buttons I can click to make that happen in the game in the thing. Because that's my biggest thing right now with like King's Crossing, for example, is I'm starting to get some of the systems down. I've got some of the skill check stuff in there, but oh, hello, cat. But there are some things like combat scares me because I don't understand how I would do attacks and how I would apply some of my like poisons to my blade and how that works. Do I drag it over there, reduce the quantity? And a lot of that stuff I imagine is just going to be stuff that we just have to keep track of, like, okay, you just reduce this to quantity 1, and now we just make a note on your stiletto now saying that it now has Folkbane on it for this many charges or something like that.
Yeah, that's something one thing I this is off topic, but one thing I wanted to do with this group with Grunkle and Torvik was run a mock combat so that I could get it narrowed in and figured out. Unfortunately, we were never able to do that. But that's hence why I've run 2 combats that were both completely fucked. Which I talked about. I've admitted defeat on those. I was like, I completely screwed those up. But hopefully going forward it'll be better. But that's something we could do with your group is, or even they could join if we're just, it's a made up mock battle. Any one of you 4 or 5 players could join and be like, yeah, bring my character into this mock combat. Let's test some stuff out and see what works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would help me a lot. But yeah, again, it just kind of comes down to, that's another thing. I see you guys like moving your little dots around. How do you do that?
That's just your mouse cursor.
Oh.
Yeah. We're talking about on Foundry Virtual Tabletop. It shows where your mouse cursor is on the screen, so that way instead of having to ping, you can just move your mouse cursor there and be like this, and it shows what you're looking at. Yeah, that's just your mouse cursor. We see yours too.
Oh, okay.
We see where you're clicking.
Mm-hmm. Now I see you drawing little penises with your mouse cursor.
Mm-hmm.
So my thoughts, and I totally forgot about starting low level but with more resources. I completely forgot about that. That was a good point that you brought up. I'm glad that you brought it up here.
I mean, that'd be my solution for 5th edition, and obviously it's not my first choice, but that I mean, what really impressed me there though is that 5th edition does seem like one of the more optimal systems for long-term gameplay. Like, to get up to that point where you have that 10th level selection of abilities probably would be really satisfying.
Yep.
You know?
I would admit that
going from level 1 and going up.
Compare that to Zweihander, I think D&D's got it beat hands down.
Yeah.
Because looking at Zweihander's level ups, it's like, okay, you get a plus 5%. It's kind of correct. Right. Thanks.
Sad.
It's my system.
It's still sad.
But yeah, it's kind of inferior to the cost reward. Like you get a level up. You're like, woo! Plus 10% to this one skill use. Cool. Versus D&D where it's like, okay, now you get this, 5 more spells, this an extra proficiency in this.
Yeah.
A new hat.
Who knows? Maybe I don't know if I could ever convert King's Crossing over to D&D 5e because of my style and what I want to do with it. But the way I've negated that, and this is off topic again, but it's fine because this is dirty and we get to talk about whatever we want. Dirty. Dirty being something Chison actually came up with. Drinks and discussion.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
We can't
I keep
call
forgetting
it D&D,
that.
so it's Pickles is like,
That's dirty.
Something I'm doing to negate that is I'm using a lot of homebrew character progression, and so whereas you guys were like, oh cool, I get like 1 level up, which means I just get a plus 10% in this. Yeah, but I've also already talked to you guys, and you guys are getting super fucking powers, so that'll be a cool character progression. All of a sudden you're doing fire tornadoes, and you're like, wow, that's neat. What was I going to say? Oh, but going forward, and this is something that is kind of the main topic of this entire podcast today, is what... Well, I guess the first question would be, do we want to continue one-shots? The second question is how? And the 2 options that we brought up, we've talked about this already, but it's worth revisiting. Yeah, because, I mean, we got another set of eyes here. Maybe you get another perspective. But if we continue with one-shots, which I think is a really cool idea, I think it's a lot of fun. It adds something more to the channel rather than just a bunch of, men here talking about, nerd stuff. Adding in the gameplay. And I think we should continue the one-shots personally. If we do, there's 2 ways that have been brought up in the past of how to do it. I think it was initially brought up that we could do one-shots occasionally, every couple months, every month, whatever, where you try out a new system, let a new DM come in and like kind of showcase their talent, or let some new person DM and be like, I want to try it. Perfect. One-shot's the perfect place to try it. Do it every couple months. That gives us time at the end of an episode. You save that last hour to, hey guys, let me talk about the new system that I'm going to be running a one-shot in. This is called, I don't know, Traveler. Let me tell you about it. Yeah, I know you hate it, but it would be cool to showcase it so that way we can show, and then afterwards we could do a post-game recap where we talk about it and be like, this is what I don't like about this system, blah, blah, blah. I think it would be cool to like do reviews of systems and stuff, and one-shots would allow us to do that. So at the end of the session, you save an hour for, okay, or end of an episode, you save an hour for, okay, let me tell you guys about this system. The next week, you save that last hour for, okay, what thoughts, questions did you guys come back with about this system? Cool. Next week, let's make some characters for this system. And then the 4th week, let's do the one-shot. And so each DM kind of gets their turn to kind of showcase their DM style and their system and their game. So that was one idea. The second idea being each week at the end of this episode, we save that hour to do a one-shot. And it's a continual one-shot. So similar to, I related it to Harmon Quest, which again, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on our podcast. Shout out to them. All rights go to them, whatever.
Shout out to Harmontown, their actual podcast.
There you go. Thank you. He knows my. I just saw Harmon Quest through Pickles, so it would be similar to that, where at the end of the episode they do they do their game, and each game could be a one shot, but it continues on and has a story. Now, granted, they have one DM and one system. In ours, we would have rotating DMs. Anyone can DM. Like, I want to DM this week. Oh, I want to DM next week. Cool, perfect, easy. However, we would have to decide on one system because you couldn't change the system every week. Because then you'd have to make new characters. The characters wouldn't be able to continue on. It'd be a mess. And so you would have to pick one system. And getting a group of whoever shows up to agree on one system going forward, I feel is unlikely.
And one unified vision of how the setting is and what stories are about.
Well, I disagree on
if
that.
you're all well, okay, so like say that I decide I want to do something with Thieves Guild stuff, and I secretly want the bartender at the popular bar to be like the head of the Thieves Guild. It's like an undercover thing. I run a game, I do a bunch of hints, and maybe it's revealed. Let's just say it's actually revealed that, and I piss everybody off like royally. Like it's a terrible, vengeful villain, and he gets away too. It's like the setup for my next adventure. So when we get back to my time in the cycle, then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It would really suck to have the next adventure be, we found that piece of shit and we kicked his ass. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you got a one
thank
shot.
you.
You got a one shot. Whatever you do during that one shot's yours. After that, it's not your turn anymore. Unless you run the next one
that's
shot.
fair.
Yeah.
I guess that is a...
if you want to run a two shot, you gotta, that's different.
Right. And I guess for me, I would need to have a lot of trust and experience with the people I was doing that with. In the sense of, I've played with them before, I get how they are, and we all have an agreement. And I think, offhand, sharing a universe like that is sort of something I would not be willing to do.
Why?
Like,
because you have to remember, this is it's a one shot. It's not like you're trying to build a whole campaign. I'm not trying to create the world. I'm not trying to create the political struggle. I'm just playing a one shot. That's all I have to prep for. That's all I have to worry about. Once I'm done with that one shot, I'm to wipe my hands clean of it. And then maybe in a month I come back and I make another one shot. Sure, it's in the same storyline and in the same setting, but all I have to worry about is that one shot. Everything outside of that is out of my hands, and it just kind of goes on and play, and we get to have fun. And it's like what is that? Write your own story thing. Turn to page 7. Okay, now we're doing that. Okay, now turn to page 3. Okay, now we're doing that. It would be one of those things, but it's a continual story.
I would need a lot of trust to enter a situation like that. That's I would say otherwise. Yeah, that's not for me. My heart wouldn't be in it, and I would resent like every moment of writing. And okay, let's just take one thing beyond that is we'd have to agree on a system, as you said. We couldn't just each run our own one shots and plant seeds and see what stuff people want to do. We would have to run our own thing or like a specific thing, and everybody's going to vote for 5th edition. Like obviously, and there's no way you're going to get me to write 5th edition stuff. Don't clip this and then save it for a year when I start.
Flashback to like an hour earlier in the episode where I said that.
Yep, that's exactly what he said.
Okay, is that what? I know you wanted to say something.
So just wanted to jump in with where that's because you're teeing up a really good point here, which is where our third option comes in.
What you didn't tell me we had 3. You said we had 2. You trickster, you tricky host. Go for it, please.
So the third option that we kind of like talked ourselves in the circle, and then we arrived back at the original point, was it would probably be good to do one shots of different styles. But that's going to run out at some point in time where you're just going to be like, well, we've gone through all the systems. Everybody said the storyline that they wanted to. Where do we go from here? And that's when we can kind of come back to this topic and say, all right, I really like this system, pros and cons of it. Here's what I think. Do we think we would like to turn this into a one shot every month or so and have a different person coming on and doing different storylines with it?
On that note, what if it's just hypothetical? At the, you know, we have our weekly podcast. At the end of the episode, you save that last hour or whatever for the one shot, right? For, I don't know, we'll say month of January, we're doing D&D 5e. So you'd have 4 DMs come in, you know, for the 4 weeks. It could be, you know, Pickles DMs for 2 of them or whatever, you know, whatever. You got 4 weeks of DMs. And you do a little one-shot campaign that's 4 episodes long in 5th edition. And then we get to the end of that, and in February we're doing, I don't know, Savage Worlds. Okay, we do 4 weeks of Savage Worlds, DMs get to try it out, you know, like that would give me a chance to DM Savage Worlds. I haven't done it before. That would give Pickles a chance to showcase Savage Worlds because he knows it. You know, that would give you a chance to try it because you had never done it. That would be another option. And it would give people a chance to drop in, drop out, try new characters. Like, oh, I've never played a monk. That would be interesting. This month I can try a monk. And then I'm not locked into it because next month I'm like, I don't like monks. I want to play something else. That'd be another idea. 4 options.
Yeah, 4 options.
Pickles, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy is that the system is more for the storyteller than for the players. Like, the players should know the system, but the storyteller is picking the system because it helps to tell the stories they want to tell. Like, you pick Traveler over 5th edition, not because 5th edition beats Traveler over the skull with a mace. It's because Traveler it has the mechanics in it to do space travel, and 5th edition just doesn't have that. It just has great character progression. And so, like, I don't know. It feels wrong to me to force people to use a system they're not familiar with and or not interested in. And to me, the simplest solution here would be just, all right, we each get a week of the month, and we're going to do our own running little games. And you can just do a one shot. You could make it a continual thing. And I almost feel like we should have it be organic. Like, say, let's just say I get the first week of the month, and we start in May or whatever, and it's like, okay, I'm running my little fantasy game to, I don't know, impress Adise and Tough Nuts and make them like me because I have problems, something like that. And it's just a very casual, very, very lighthearted thing. We go and we kill orcs in the woods, and it's like just all fun and games. Then we could have the next week be Wrath doing something grim and perilous, and have his one shot be, you know, a little sample of his campaign that he's dying to share, I'm sure. Or you could do anything. And we could go through that, and we get back to Mr. Pickles on Monday, and it's like, well, I was thinking of doing a little Supers one shot. You guys could be like, no, we like killing that orc really a lot. And I could be like, okay, we can continue this, or we can do Supers. Like, it would give us the option as the GMs to organically grow campaigns as it goes. Like, the understanding is, if it sucks, we do a different game.
So instead of, okay, I see. So you would be locked in first week of the month is Pickles week. He DMs what he wants to DM. I see what you're saying.
Followed by a Chaser of Wrath.
My only devil's advocate, other side, like negative side of that would be, say, first week of the month you do this. When do we make? Because we've only got that hour period. When are you making characters?
We'd make characters the first time it comes around to our week, I guess. We'd have character month.
Character month, and then the next month on your first week you would go into.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And okay, we would all have our own things
5
ready,
options.
right? So if somebody is like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it for my week, we could be like, okay, I could use another shot of Wrath. Let's do some more Wrath. Who's ready? And Wrath might be like, well, I'm flattered but not ready. Please, anything but pickles.
And then Adise can step up and be like, I want to try DMing a week. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't want a week, you don't need to have a week. We could have that just be like a discussion of the systems and the stuff so far. Like if
break it down and what we've done.
like, so we wouldn't necessarily have to have a filler game, even if somebody missed it. We could just be like, this is a talk about it as we go. I don't know. What are the other flaws in this idea?
I don't know.
Well, I can think of one.
I'm trying to argue with it and be like, well, what about this? What about this?
From a viewer's perspective, Pickles, I think the problem would be that that's 4 different games running potentially then. Like, who's going to be remembering that unless you do an advertising program? Well, I appreciate you setting me up for that. We could advertise more aggressively which week it is of the month.
Yeah, I could definitely advertise more, especially with Discord. Plus, I mean, the series would be on YouTube, so you could continue to watch the series of each game.
I like that reporter guy. He asks good questions.
Yeah, that also does your point that you were teeing up there. Also brought up another interesting thing about the characters themselves would also have to have good notes about. All right, we're this is what was happening in this one, even though like next week we're going to be doing this next one.
Yeah,
and they have to kind of keep some good notes on like
playing
what
a game 1 week a month. That's the other problem. What if, say, Pickles runs his game first week of the month, us 2 are there. Next week, Adise and Tough Nuts are there, but I'm not. And then not next week, but next month. And then the following month, Tough Nuts and myself are there, but Adise isn't. Would you be able to continue the one shot with rotating players?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Not that I've already been writing.
That would be something a DM would have to be prepared for, which isn't a negative. It's just something you would have to be prepared for beforehand and know about,
Yeah, it would be nice to know.
But I agree.
And
I agree.
Obviously, the show can't go on without you.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, I kind of have to be here for the show. Because if I don't show up, then there isn't a game. Hashtag yesterday. Hashtag I'm still sorry.
Hashtag we could just play in private.
Yeah, you guys could. Yeah, that's true.
Drinks and discussions, but it's behind the curtain.
I got kicked out. But I agree with Adise's point. Adise's point was, say Adise and I are playing. Pickles is DMing. This is the first week of the month. Blah blah blah. A month goes by. We come back. Adise and I are like, what the fuck happened? Where were we? Who was I playing? I have 4 characters. I don't remember which one I was playing and what happened. Like, how much of that hour one shot is going to be used to recap?
I'm with my fantasy game at least. I can only speak for myself, of course. Like my goal is just to make something simple and fun. Like in Harmontown, this is basically the format I think you guys have described that they do. Is Dan Harmon has like a full bottle of vodka on stage. He starts out. Jeff Davis asks some questions. They get a guest on. He starts rapping or singing. Like things happen. They talk to the guest. He drinks more. They improv some sort of thing like a murder mystery. And then usually, sometimes I think people come out on stage and it's like, okay, Spencer, you ready to run a game? Spencer's like, sure. And then they just continue their Pathfinder game for like an hour or so. And then Dan Harmon gets really, really drunk. And it all ends. But like, I think you can have rolling narratives and have them be simple, like the narratives they do in Harmontown, and just have it be like you're off going after bandits, and the notes are simple. Like when I wanted to do an improv thing, I actually felt like we shouldn't have Foundry or Roll20 or anything for this. We should have a piece of paper on our desk, a pencil or pen, or ideally not a permanent marker, but if that's all you have, it's better than chalk, and then roll our dice. Like, nothing matters here in Drinks and Discussions in the sense that, like, this isn't a continual campaign. So we can just roll our dice. We can have fun. We don't need to be like, well, did you really roll a second D20 in a roll? 20 on a D20. You know what I mean? Like, there's no room for, like, does it matter? Sometimes it might actually be advantageous to intentionally fudge your dice to fail or something. Like that kind of mindset. If we're playing one shots and goofing with friends, right? Like why not just have us roll physical dice?
I wonder if there's a chat bot for Discord that could roll d20s.
But that's not what you guys were saying. You said you like the physical experience.
No,
Why
no,
not
and
have
that's-
dice to
that-
roll?
Yeah.
And then just say, yeah, Pickles, I got a 1 again.
Whoopsie.
yeah.
Or be honest, ideally though.
And-
The only problem with that would be the same thing we dealt with when we ran in-person groups, Pickles. People show up for the game and they're like, "Oh, I forgot all my dice. Oh, I forgot my character sheet. Oh, I forgot that I'm grounded."
Mm. Well, I mean,
Mainly the first two.
in this case, I expect everybody to be an adult if they're interested in this, and Adis and Tough Nuts generally have always shown up. So it's the sort of thing where, if for my system, it's just going to be a piece of paper, and I'll take notes on my end. So if you lose your one piece of paper, whatever, I'll give you your information back. But I'm going for simplicity over.
I gotta be honest. You were probably nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head with mine. It would probably be King's Crossing. Swyander, and it would just be
It's what you want.
You guys playing different characters, but showcasing another aspect of the story going on. That would be really cool.
But okay. So if we had to, like, that's where my frustration would be, is if you had to then open it up to each of us get to run a King's Crossing snippet, we can do whatever we want. It would feel
with the
like the one system, one setting, one set of characters.
I wouldn't run King's Crossing then. It would be running our own thing.
And I don't know how to like distance myself from my own writing in that way. Like that's where I was coming from earlier, I guess.
Yeah, I do see it.
But if everybody gets to showcase their style and what game they run, we can all complain when it gets to the first week of the month. You know, it's fine. But we could all just change it up if people are like wanting to do something different. You don't have to do a King's Crossing each week. You could do whatever you want.
Month.
Yeah.
I got you. Each of my weeks. Yeah. Interesting. So we got 5 options for a format for this one shot.
I vote number 5. And I borrowed Brando's vote.
Oh, you borrowed it?
So I'm also going to put that towards 5.
Oh, okay. you and Tough Nuts, what are you guys voting?
You stole his vote?
Yeah. I think
Tough Nuts left it with him for safekeeping. He keeps it in his pants.
It's a good call.
Yep. Right next to my
Oh, hang on.
Never mind.
Censor button.
Yeah, I think, and also I think that the fifth option would actually give us also the most amount of playability of, as far as like, all right, so we kind of have it structured where this is the DM each week, but we're not necessarily tied into like, hey, maybe let's take a break from that campaign for a little while. Could we try something else? And then the DM could say, all right, yeah, give me a week next week after the play session. They can come back and say, all right, we're going to be playing this edition or this rule set.
This idea, the setting, yeah.
This idea. Here's the setting. Go ahead and find a character, and we'll try the campaign session 1 next month.
That is what I was thinking too. Is it's kind of a good mix of all the formats in that you do get the playability of the continual story. You do get the rotating DMs, the different DM styles to try. You do get the option to bring in new DMs to give it a try, and you do get to try different systems and different ways of playing. All while still having some format to it and not being a complete grab bag shit show like our test play.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pickles might have us beat here. I think option 5 might win out.
I know, I'm starting to lean that way too. But also, I wanted to say one thing about kind of some of the discussions we had so far, and Pickles, you were correct. I will say that I think that David and I, Tough Nuts and I, have not had. He calls me Adam on the stream all the time. It's fine.
That's true.
Does he prefer Mr. Nuts?
I prefer Mr.
We've already
Nuts.
DDoSed each other.
Okay.
But like, I have to say, like, I mean, speaking from personal experience, I think Tough Nuts comes from the same kind of background. We haven't had a whole lot of like experience of other game systems, so I mean, we can say right now, yeah, we think we would probably be more scientific in a sci-fi or a futuristic or a modern day sort of thing, but end of the day, we haven't tried the system yet. So I think that this sort of an option of bring in some of these other play styles and have us all try it out, I think that's going to be good for our growth as players, as well as our understanding of like tabletop RPGs as a whole. So
as much as Pickles is wanting to do a fantasy just to get you guys to like him, I have wanted to either do Traveler, or if Pickles can show me how to do futuristic Savage Worlds, I would. Well, I guess you could do it. I'd have to get with him on Savage Worlds. I'm more familiar with Traveler because I played that one longer, but working with him on Savage Worlds, I would like to do like either it would be a modern day / slightly futuristic military super soldier short story where you guys are like kick ass, kick in the door, drop troop, going in, and it would be slightly futuristic to where like maybe space travel's just started happening and you guys are having a first contact with aliens or something. Like, I think that would be really cool. As much as you guys are like, and he's going fantasy because he wants you guys to like him. I'm like, fuck you guys. Let's do futuristic. I'm going to prove you wrong. We're going to have fun with it. So, it would be cool to do that just as much as I want to do maybe a spin-off King's Crossing to showcase maybe a different part of the story going on so that you guys as players are like, whoa, like while we're over here in the Freelands, you wouldn't fucking believe what's going on down in the kingdom of Angelonia right now. But your guys' side characters get to go play that story and see what's going on, for instance, as an example. Just as much as I want to do that, I'd also love to do other short stories where I get to try new stuff. And I think that option would allow that.
Yeah. And that could also play on down the road, and you could bring our side characters in to meet our main characters, and you would be playing our side characters.
In King's Crossing? Absolutely. I thought you meant like the super soldiers drop into King's Crossing. I was like, I don't know if that would work.
The Grunkle Squad is here.
And all of a sudden they're jumping out of helicopters. Grunkle's like holding his sword like, what the hell?
We are Grunkles from the future.
Weird bird.
Plot twist.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Well, shit, I think we might have a format, guys.
I think so.
And we're the only ones who showed up, so we get the deciding vote here. And it sounds like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes out of the 3 of us for option 5.
5 for 5.
5 for 5.
Well, there you go. Chat, if you guys are listening and tuning in on YouTube, sounds like we got a format going forward for this. And I believe we already have a DM volunteering to go first.
Oh, a D's?
You're ready, right, Adus? Next week?
We'll try something.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question is, like, what would you want to run a D's?
That is a great question.
I don't know if you're a DM-oriented person, so forgive me if I automatically included you in that category.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm always down to try something new. One thing you'll learn about me is there's always a first time.
I like that. I'm the same way.
So, I think, yeah, I mean, right now, I would only be able to confidently say that, yeah, I can do a D&D 5e, maybe.
But like, what would you do in D&D 5e? We could all be, like maybe it's a wizard school, maybe it's a bunch of
what does your heart sing?
Monsters in the wilderness, and we all have to play like monsters trying to get the village to befriend us. I think is an idea I remember someone had.
Yeah, that
I
sounds like something I did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I love that idea.
Good old
yes.
Took.
So I think I would have to play off of stuff that I would have a personal just because I'm still kind of new to things. I would want to go with something that I'm familiar with, so I would be able to build that backstory more readily. So I would say maybe like so in World of Warcraft how they have the the flight systems.
Yeah, we're
Flight
both very
paths.
familiar.
Yeah. So I think maybe I would go with something along the lines of a like a flight path guild or something like that, and you would have to be and like you're trying to set up like a flight path guild of or like pre World of Warcraft, like you're trying to set up the initial flight points for different realms and different areas. So you would have to first go and adventure out on your own to the new area, and then you would have to fight things off to the point where you could set up a location where you could have
Harbor
a
port.
yeah.
Well, if it's a flight path, it could be like anywhere, right? Like it could be a nice plains area with a flat field.
Yeah, it
But
could be
why
anywhere.
would anyone want to travel to that area? Maybe you have to find hotspots, or hey, I know there's a budding town on this river, but they don't have a port. Like we travel there to build the port and connect them to the trade network and the
And see, these are the things that now that you mention it, I'm starting to realize this is a very wide open thing that I would have to do a lot of digging into. Like, all right, why do you want to go this direction?
No. That's a Trailblazer campaign.
basically.
Yeah.
Like that, the intention is to go somewhere that's been unexplored, or make your way across an odyssey of treacherous territory. Potentially, like you might start in civilized and go into treacherous, but the goal is to go somewhere and then establish that like ability to travel effectively. So it's Trailblazer. And that gives you a lot of power as the storyteller, I think, because you get to decide what happens. It doesn't matter which direction they go, as long as they're going in the direction of the mission.
Yeah.
You can decide, and if you want to, you can make it so there's branching options, as long as you're okay with some of your options being thrown in the trash.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, okay, this next idea is they're going to this location. No matter which way the players decide to go, they're going to end up at that location. But you don't have to tell the players that. They're like, I want to go. I want to go north, and you're like, oh, but it was in the south. No, now it's in the north, and that's where you're gonna end up.
Yeah,
it works better if you don't like prep a map beforehand for things like that, and just kind of go a little loosey goosey. Say there is no map because it hasn't been explored. That kind of thing makes it easier to be like,
one of us could play a cartographer. That would be an easy. Why are you on this mission? I'm a cartographer. Boom! I can go on every single mission now. I have a reason and a purpose to be there.
Yeah, that would be good, like as a side character for the expedition.
Yeah, if you notice in King's Crossing, there's no maps. You know why? No cartographers.
Because the cartographers drowned in mud.
Probably true.
Their maps are at the bottom of a puddle.
I was so curious because one of you guys, this is off topic, getting to King's Crossing territory, which I love discussing because it's my game. But one of you guys went through, both of your groups have gone through natural hazards.
Yeah, fuck the swamp. I fucking hate the swamp. I hate having to pull friends out of the swamp. I hate having to pull my clothing and my stick out of the swamp. It's not a euphemism. Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah, I bet you wish you had a big old hand to wrap around your body and just be like, I'll pour beer on you.
Actually,
I hate barrels too.
Yeah. If I remember right, you were drowning, and then Tough Nuts was like, I'll save you, and Tough Nuts passed out drowning, and you're like, oh, I guess I have to save him now.
Oh my gosh. That's even worse than how it went for us.
Yeah, that's where you guys were like, oh man, that was the worst. And technically, Torvekik was in a tough spot.
Yeah, Torvi was in a tough spot. Yeah. I lost equipment, and then you led me to believe, as the cliffhanger, you don't know what you have in your inventory anymore. And it's like, what the fuck?
I was
Did
like,
I lose my one firebomb?
you didn't have a
like my
chance
one
to go
racial
through
trait
your...
weapon?
Yeah, basically, I told him he lost some of his items when he was trying to go save Torvekik,
Dick.
but he didn't know what items he had lost, and I was like, and that's where we're ending this episode. And he was like, what the fuck?
So pissed.
But we came back, and I was like, it's just right. You can go get it.
Yeah. No, and that built trust with me. That built trust, and I think that's what I mean when I say having trust in other people's DMing styles.
But I'm not
Is
going to
it's
cut
like-
your dick off.
Yes, not cutting my dick off as punishment for killing a rapist. Yes, that is the kind of thing that I would say breaks my trust.
This video is
but, like-
demonetized.
I did the right thing. But okay, like, but what I mean is like that thing exactly. If you get a bad cliffhanger and it's like, oh, I'm absolutely in trouble, and then it comes back and it's like, okay, you're not in that bad of trouble, and you're recovering, and you're getting up, you're gonna kick ass. That's great. I really like that because it makes me feel like, oh, okay, I can enjoy the cliffhanger now.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you do a cliffhanger in the future, if you keep up that pattern, then it's like, okay, I see what he's doing. Let's get amped up on the cliffhanger and be like, oh, we're so screwed, guys. And that's where
that is
I
the
come from
idea,
there.
but I will admit I failed that later on in the episodes where, if you guys are still watching through the King's Crossing series, minor spoilers. If you
Grim and
haven't seen-
Perilous.
minor spoilers. But I think I did a cliffhanger with the creatures coming in to attack you. Where you guys finally met the swamp kids and they were like calling out to you guys, if you remember, or they were calling out to.
Oh, that was a good one. I like that.
I
That was a
love
good
that. I
cliffhanger.
thought it was so good, but then the fight was just ass. I'm so mad at my combats, but I'm gonna get better. I learned what my problem was and what I was doing wrong. So,
Yeah, no, that cliffhanger was probably your best of the entire adventure for us.
thank you. I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I like scary things, so that was like, frick yeah.
I haven't done anything like that with your group, but your group, where his group was, part of his party was stuck in the mud and dying, and he had to risk his own items and safety to go in and save him. Your group got your character got drop kicked in the face
By a bugbear, yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was going down a little path that was not meant for the storyline.
Basically, I don't know if you've
Oh.
heard this, but yeah, I think we talked about this. So I had like an intro paragraph, and I got through one sentence, and then they were like, "We're off on an adventure," and I was like, "I wasn't done." And it was very interesting. So the whole thing started off with, I asked, you guys lost your boat along your journey to Arwen's Rest. How did you lose it? And that turned into a 2-hour adventure of them. Now we want to go talk to the bugbear. I'm like, no. How did you lose your boat?
We're gonna
so,
go-
yeah.
How'd you lose your boat? We rammed the campaign. we went through the.
That's right.
blockade.
You guys rammed the blockade, and they rolled successfully. And I was like, "Dang it!" So their little dinghy made it through the blockade, and I was like, "Okay, someone's gonna stop you and take your boat." And they're like, "We're gonna keep our boat. We roll successfully." I was like, "You get Spartan kicked in the face. You don't get to keep your boat."
Well, that's where the roll meant there was a chance that they could succeed, and a roll is always a gatekeeping action. Like, you tell a player to roll something to see if you can pass that mountain or climb that tree.
they did
Or know
save
that
their
thing.
boat. Your boat is not destroyed.
Mhm.
Your boat is still out there, and you do still own it. It's
Yeah.
just been taken from you.
I still have the deed to the boat.
Yeah,
The boat's
so
mine.
so basically, I mean, you did roll successfully to where you do still technically have a boat out there, and it could
In the
come
world.
back into play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious because your group had the mud pits, and you were so pissed about the mud pits, and it was this whole ordeal. Their group actually almost drowned to death. I think Tough Nuts. Tough Nuts was in
He
trouble.
dropped down.
Yeah, he was out. He was completely unconscious underwater.
Well, I mean, Tough Nuts has more balls than I do by his name's nature.
Actually, neither of them are combat characters. That's what's interesting.
Oh, well, that's sad
both
because
of
we're both combat
yeah,
characters.
you're both combat characters, and neither of them are combat characters. They're
But
one's
don't
a
have,
scientist
like,
and one's
survival.
a smuggler.
like, we don't have any survival stuff, or like, we're literally like soldier class rather than like
Yeah,
ranger or anything.
I think
and that's the
Wilford
problem.
was your best bet, but he wasn't able to continue the game. So he like showed up, was able to help you guys, and then left.
Oh, I was gonna say the person who actually mattered to us was Elias.
Alexios.
Alexios, yeah,
He mattered.
he is
You
the one
actually
who's
liked
actually.
him.
Well, yeah, I got to yell at him, and then I got to love him again. Like I had a whole character arc with him. I'm
Yeah.
bonded to him now.
Alexios is a big, just as much as my combat. I know this has become a King's Crossing talk,
Yeah,
but
welcome back to Kings and Discussions.
yeah, Kings and Discussions. Let's go. So Alexios was a big test as well. There's another word I was trying to find, but I couldn't. Just as much as my combats were like playtests, Alexios was a playtest because I want to bring NPCs in, especially key NPCs, who are useful to the story. If you recruit them, if you use them, they're gonna provide benefits. And I want them to be useful to you. They're not heroes, they don't overshadow you, but they benefit you. With Alexios, I was trying to find that balance, find that groove. And it took me a little bit to get there, but I think I landed it when when you guys started realizing you guys were getting good night's sleep, you weren't suffering any of the effects of the environment when you were at camp, because he was there helping you out by like singing and putting on it, and you guys started feeling those effects.
I'd never get penalties for that, but Torvekic felt it.
It's true, yeah.
Berserker,
yeah.
Yeah, Berserker class. I don't like take problems when I sleep in the mud.
Yeah, so that's where maybe throughout the game, you guys, I don't know what you guys plan to do. Maybe you guys...
He's giving us information. Like, his value, I felt like, was his comments when we were in a bad spot. Because Torvekic is not really, like, a hard traveler. He's a warrior. Grunkle doesn't know much about the land, because I forgot to take folklore as a skill when I made my character. And then I forgot that you could just roll that, and it's not that great of a roll, but still. So having a character there that sort of knows things a little bit better, who's classed differently, feels like a reassurance. I feel like he was more of a blanket, and it's like, okay, you can't throw knives too well, but it'd be nice if you could. But yeah, he's an ally. We weren't going to leave him behind.
Yeah.
He provides information and reassurance.
See, and that's where, say you guys, I don't know what your guys' plan is, but say, for example, you guys, I don't know, find a fort, you renovate the fort, you turn it into like your HQ, and obviously me being the DM, both groups are going to end up at that fort and help build it and turn it into something useful. Say your group is like, we don't really need to take Alexios on this adventure because the benefits he provide I don't really need, but I don't know, Sigurstrigger is a good ally who provides benefits that we really need. Let's bring him along. Whereas this group's like, man, we really need some help at camp when we're out in the woods. Alexios is hanging out at camp. He seems to be some guy that was here. Let's go meet him. He came because of this group, but now this group gets to use him because you guys recruited him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's where
I thought you were saying Ford, like a Ford F-350 that we found and like rehabilitated.
Ford.
And I was like, why do we have a truck? And I was like, actually, a truck would actually be pretty freaking great in this mud. Just like blazing through. And I'm like,
could use a Ford.
This would be. And then you're saying, and then you could go back to the, and I was like, oh, forts. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's my bad brain ears. But Ford would be nice too. But yeah, that makes sense.
So that is a factor concept of this campaign that will be in play, is that maybe you guys go out and you secure a cache of, maybe you guys are on a quest and you find this cache of all this like weird tech and scrap and all this like
cigars.
Sure, yeah, that I guess. And you guys bring it back to the fort. Well, then this group comes into play and they're like, whoa, like where all this, one of the groups went out and got all this scrap. Nimworth's like, I needed that. I'm crafting this stuff and I needed this stuff. Perfect. Where you guys are like, I don't need scrap, but you guys haul it back, and this group's like, we needed this. Thank you so much.
And then we build you turrets for the fort, and
Yeah, you're like,
And
whoa,
a-
that
and a
scrap.
humidor.
Yeah, in a humidor. Yeah.
For the cigars.
So now this group is like, hey, that scrap we brought back has been used, and now we have, I don't know, mech warriors walking around the fort.
Can they slop mud?
And they slop mud. Yep.
Yeah, because that was our job, is we shoveled mud.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well that'd be nice if we could have automated mud sloppage.
Yeah.
Like it's played up.
Giant robots go around and just clean the streets.
Just like played up.
But played up. Now I want to play. But yeah, that's an idea of King's Crossing that I'm going to be tying the groups. The groups are in the same world, in the same setting, and they will be able to indirectly benefit each other. I've actually already brought that into play, but insider knowledge, pretty sure the other group was like, "Nah, fuck that. We're not going to help them." No, so basically I've already brought it into play where I gave an example, or I don't want to give too much away, but an NPC was like, hey, my friends need help, could you go help them? Indirectly, they could go help your group with something. Granted, they said, no, fuck that.
Cute. That would be very cute if they said
they didn't.
Delight.
No, they didn't. They said no. They're like, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
But to be fair, they are going to help a friend of yours.
Well, I don't care about a friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
No, I do actually care about all my friends. But...
Yeah.
We're helping out a friend of yours so that we all may benefit in the long run.
Yeah. So we'll see come tomorrow what they end up doing. That's the idea with that.
Check out King's Crossing tomorrow at 7 p.m.
Wow, you even
advertising
know my time zone. Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
You converted that to my time zone. Oh boy. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't have to technically do an outro. We still have an hour of show. I feel like the show's going by really slow. We got plenty of time.
We got plenty of time.
Well,
we were really rushed at the end last week.
Yeah, last week we went over by like a half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty classic with Chison. I played in one of his games before, and every week we were going over by like an hour. Eventually I was like, it's like 2 a.m. I gotta go to bed.
He did a really good job though with our material that I'm not responsible for this. Your material, sorry. Your material.
Take credit.
Like he did a great job at summarizing it and pushing it in a way where he was trying to prioritize things that were important to the story and get through the plot points. And I don't know. I think I already said it earlier, but I really respect his DMing style for that. Processing that quickly and making it. I mean, I had fun. So, at points it felt like all my friends, including myself, hated me. But there were other points where it was like, oh my gosh, this is just stupid fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not, like I get it. The joke isn't on me. I crush that intrusive thought when I can. And yeah, so I had fun and just so much respect for Chison after that.
There were things that we were talking about earlier that we noticed were changed. For example, in the back room there was a tunnel. In our writing, there was a tunnel that they were smuggling the ale out to this underground theme park, right?
Oh, that's why you guys were
all the walls.
slamming.
That's why Tough Nuts was like, I run and jump on this spot just randomly, and I was like, wow, Tough Nuts, you just randomly go jump on this spot because he was looking for loose boards for the tunnel.
Yeah, okay. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with everybody?
So that's why Tough Nuts was like, I want to jump on the spot, and Chison was like, yeah, it's just you land, and you could see Tough Nuts was like, what? No, there's something
and you
there.
threw me in so that I would fall through the floorboards.
But that's why I was like, I just start punching the walls and throwing stuff at the walls.
You threw me into the room too.
Yeah. So that's why
I'm like, I'm a monk, so I guess I'd probably roll or something.
Yeah, it was.
Or smear like a meat crayon.
It was that. All of a sudden, we were like traveling out into the hills, and I was like, that was never in our writing. I'm curious where this is going.
That was me trying to push the story forward because I didn't know where it was supposed to go.
It was supposed to go underground.
Let's get out of the bar, please. Let's get out of the bar. We gotta get out of the bar, guys. Stop throwing things at the bar.
We didn't want to get out of the bar because that's where the story was.
Okay, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That was the plot twist. I was not
Apparently-
familiar with that.
Yeah,
We were all doing the same thing, just coming to different conclusions.
exactly.
No, you guys all had like the story, and I'm over here being like,
Well,
I
that's
think
where
the hills are proper.
Chison was like, guys, we gotta hurry up, and we're all sitting there like, we can't find the tunnel. I don't know. Like, there's supposed to be a
What did I
tunnel.
tell you?
But he led us to the right area.
He
at the
did,
end.
yeah, he did. The other thing was there was a whole virtual world aspect of this Hydra that didn't come into.
Yeah.
Like, we ended up
Well-
We ended up sailing in the ocean and stuff, and I was like, why are we in the middle of the ocean? Where are we going? Like,
Come on, guys.
like, there was a turtle. We were in the water. There's islands. So I was like,
His turtle was awesome.
I don't
First
know
off,
how any of this is
It
going.
was awesome.
No, it's all
But-
good. I'm just saying none of that was in our writing. Like, I was like, I don't know where we're going. Which is good, because the idea was we're giving it to a DM who didn't write it, so he can interpret it and make of it what he wants, and any of his little changes will be a surprise to us, so that when we're not just, we know exactly where. That was the whole point. So it did go exactly according to plan.
Yep.
I'm not like harshing on him for changing it. He did what he was supposed to do.
Oh, no.
That was right.
Yep.
I was just saying.
I thought it was a good choice.
There were things that were different, and like the Hydra was supposed to be like the nerdy Hydra that no one liked. He was like the black sheep, and that's why he was creating the virtual world, because he wanted pretend friends that would pay him to hang out with him.
How big do you think Hydra Society is?
We don't know. It was like of all the dragons, he was the dumb dragon or something, is what it was.
Oh, I'm just a bunch of 5 heads being dumb dragons. No, you're not.
That's
buddy.
that's what I would have imagined Deathwing sounding like.
That's what you were thinking?
Yeah, that's exactly how I would imagine him sounding like, based off what we wrote. And like, the idea was he was stealing the liquor to he was stealing all the booze to put into his theme park, but also I think there was something about him injecting it into his body to make him like cool and like powerful.
Yeah, that's why he had the barrels strapped on him.
Yeah, I think there was something about that. But like, blowing up those barrels shouldn't have gotten rid of all booze everywhere. Like, I was like, wait, don't we just get another shipment? Like, so there were things that were changed, but it wasn't bad changes. It was like, oh, cool. No, like fighting a giant Hydra with exploding barrels on him. I was like, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he told me what to roll.
I got really mad that I couldn't light any of them on fire. I was like, come on! Somebody help! Everyone else started blowing up the barrel I was sitting in, and I was like, no! Dang it!
Yeah, I was trying to do, and that was actually one of the things I was going to bring up today was, as a player, there's some, now that I've gone through 3 sessions of D&D, I've noticed
an expert now, huh?
Oh yeah. But that's one thing that I noticed is like sometimes I think of something going one way, but maybe I'm having a hard time communicating that to my DM. What are I guess that's an expectation on my part that I'm walking into it with, but I want to hear from you guys. But that brought up a question for me coming from you guys of, I know we've discussed like, all right, what makes a good player before, like what are some good things to do as a player, but my question is more of what are some things that a player can do to kind of try to kind of get the DM on the same page of like what you're thinking about, or is that something that you should just not expect to be done, period? So like, for instance, when I was doing the Blazing Fist, or Searing Strike, I think it was, I was expecting that the Hydra would be catching fire, and I had already done an attack on the barrels to open them up and start spilling the liquid onto the Hydra. So when I hit the Hydra, he would be doused in alcohol, so it would ignite the things, igniting the barrels. But that's not how it played out. And I think that was a little bit of maybe a miscommunication on my part or something along those lines. But as DMs, has there been anything that you've seen from players of how they can kind of communicate things like that to the DM without breaking like the entire narrative of what's going on right now?
Pickles,
Yeah.
you seem like, yeah, go ahead.
First off, it depends on the system. I play in a system Mithras, M-Space, Destined on Saturdays with Inwills on Inwill's channel. And in that system, there are specific effects you can have happen with things. Like, so it's a situation where you can be like, as a player, I want to shoot at the zombie's head with my handgun. I want to try and get a headshot. And in a system like Mithras, you would need to use the special choose location to shoot him in the head. Well, or change location, but it doesn't matter. So like in that system, you couldn't really just say I shoot him in the head, but in a lot of other systems, it doesn't really matter. And so it could be like, I want to try and swing my sword at the weak spot in his armor at his shoulder as much as I can to try and flavor how you want the result to be for the DM. And like if you fail, then it's you didn't get a good shot, or if it's you succeed, yes, you definitely hit in there. You get a good cleave into that shoulder spot. And that's sort of the improv give and take with a player and a DM. I mean, I can say whatever I think is right or what my rules are, but everybody's going to play differently. Everybody's going to improv differently. And that's where you decide as a player if you like that give and take with the DM. I mean, you can say exactly what you want to have happen and describe it and be like, yeah, I want to shoot fire at his groin because I'm a psychopath and I want to burn him so that he falls over. And the DM can roll with that and be like, I didn't like that, so I'm going to change it. Or they can be like, yeah, that definitely has an effect. And certainly send it wherever you want. That kind of thing, I think. It really just comes down to the energy levels of both people. Sometimes it's easy to just be like, yeah, we're at the end of the game. You gloss over it, like Searing Fists. You burn through the thing, doesn't catch on fire. And also, you could also say as a player, is it not 50 proof alcohol then? Because he did say at some point that it was just booze. If it's beer, then beer probably won't set on fire because it's not 50 proof.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think about. Yeah.
So it could be hidden clues. It could be tired. It could be, well, I just don't want that to happen with this level of thing. But Wrath, did you have something to?
Well, I agree with all that. I think it comes down to three main factors, but all that is accurate. One, your DM style. So far of the 4 DMs we've been around, Pickles, myself, Tough Nuts, and Trison, all of us have different DM styles. I mean, you've been around each of us so far. Mm-hmm. Very different DM styles from each of us. And, like, in King's Crossing, for example, in King's Crossing, I can't remember exactly what it was. You guys chose to do something, and I was like, fuck it, that sounds awesome. Let's roll for it. I was like, I don't even care. Let's see if it works. Like, I want to know. Like, I want to, try this out. Do you remember what it was? You guys chose, like, we want to try this. And I was just like...
They went to the casino. That's what they did.
No.
It was...
I'm going to bring that up.
Was it something that was along, like, once we were on the ship, on the Emerald Enclave ship?
I feel like it was... maybe.
Was it?
Right.
Because I know I went down and snuck around the hole to see like what I could see down there.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the episode. Someone go back and watch that episode and let me know what it was. They did something and I was just like, hell yeah, I don't even care. Let's see if it works. Let's roll for it. So there's things where like that happens versus, and I don't know if this is a great like opposite, but in Pickle's game, he was like, hey, you're an investigator. Here's my story. And I was like, yeah, I go to the casino. And he was like, okay, yeah, let's go to the casino. So that's not a good opposite because that's kind of the same thing. But then you have a one shot. Granted, I don't want to put this on Chison as like he's a bad DM or anything. It's one shot. He's limited. He, like all the factors that Pickle said. You're not going to light it on fire because that doesn't work in this situation because of all these other reasons or whatever. So it's DM style. The I guess system and all that does make sense. Like what he said, all that is true. But the ones I would put it down to is DM style, idea for the game. Like say it's like the 50 proof of alcohol. The idea for the game. Like I know that Hydra is resistant to fire because he's literally sitting in an ocean.
Mhm.
So you lighting a thing on fire, he's doused in water. It's not. I know it won't work.
You can just dunk.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just like no. So the idea for the game, I guess, is not a great terminology for that, but you get my point. And the third one being your relationship with the DM. Because if I play with a new DM who I've never played with before, he's not going to know my style. He's not going to know exactly what I want. I've been playing with Pickles for 15 years. He has a pretty good idea of what I want as a player and what I'm going to do. He has a pretty good idea. And if I'm like, I want Took the Minotaur to run up and charge at this person, he knows I'm not just going to run up and kill somebody random. I'm just going to like run up and intimidate him and be like, hey, stop bullying that person. Like, I'm here to save them. Because Took was a good character and he knows the character I was playing and, blah, blah, blah. So your relationship with your DM is going to build a whole lot of options for you as far as your availability of what you can do. Because your DM is going to support that and fuel you. Like, he's gonna set you up for that slam dunk. Because he knows, okay, I know you're going to want to slam dunk this I know, like, you've been playing together. Not to bring in sports references if any of you guys are sports players here, but we've been on the same team for so long. I know how you play. Like, I know where you're going to be without having to look. I can set you up and you can hit it in. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would be the third factor. If you play with a new DM that you've never played with before, you're not going to be on the same page. You're going to have to work a little bit harder at that. I feel like you're able to communicate it a lot better when you're not in a one-shot. One-shots are limited on time. In a campaign, like I said, I can go 2 hours off course in, with my one-sentence question because we have a campaign. We can get to that later. I want to focus on what you guys are currently going on. In a one-shot, it's like, no, you guys are trying to do weird stuff. Stop. We have to go, down the adventure. So I'd say those are the three factors, but I'd second everything Pickle said. I think, if they're tired, if your time constraints, if whatever the case may be.
Can I take that and point this back at? I'm going to do it anyways.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to rob it from you guys.
Cool,
and like point back to the topic we were at before, I believe, where we were talking about doing our different games and running a different DM each week for the one shot, so to speak. I feel like there's nothing inherently wrong with us just entering a game and fucking off for a bit and being like, no, we're just screwing around at the bar doing things because that's what we feel like this week during this campaign. And we can continue the story next month or your next week, so to speak. Like if it was the session where I open up and it's like Apple Harvest is coming up, you got bandits that are on the loose, you guys could go after those bandits, and we just kind of be like, no, but that Doug just implied I'm not that strong at the bar, and I've had 2 apple ciders, and I'm feeling really freaking frisky. We're going down on Doug and the squad, and that's the entire session, like for an hour or so. Like I feel like it should be okay with the casual nature of our games here that we could have those moments where we don't really go on course, but we can come back next time and continue the story. Like Harmontown, actually, is pretty much what they do. Is they always like, we stole a horse this time.
That makes me think of
but
Strange Town of Golden Ridge, where you're like, this is your adventure, and I was like, I don't have money for a coffee. You're like, no, you probably do. I was like, no, I don't. I go to the casino. You're like, okay.
Personal funds for a coffee.
Like our entire, I don't know if it was the first episode or I think it might have been the first episode, but like it was spent. I went to the casino because I didn't have money on my character sheet for I had $3 left to my name after buying items for my character. That I was like, oh, I want to go to the coffee shop. Wait, do I have money for a coffee? Looked at my character sheet. I was like, okay, I guess I'm spending this episode at the casino. Like, it had nothing to do with his story, but
you did go and investigate the actual story though, for the most part. Like.
Well, that's just because I'm a great player.
You did have that moment where you're like, I need funds. I'm like, I don't know what for, but I'm glad. Like, I'm excited to see what he's getting. Oh, snacks, dude! You have a snack budget, separate from your like inventory money.
No, I think you came up with that rule afterwards because I
probably
because I was like, I have $3. I have to go to
wrong.
casino, and then after that, you were like, okay, you guys have money for food. Don't worry.
But then you went and you investigated, and you saw the kid on the street, and then you talked to the family, and they're like, "Our cat's covered in blood. Help us!" And you're like, "Yeah, I think I will." And then the next episode, I think, is when you had a detective join you.
Yeah, and no spoilers here because all these episodes are lost to time, and you guys don't get to see them, which is really sad. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, the first adventure was much better than the second, but that's my opinion.
Well, to be fair, we've only had 3 episodes. 2. We've only had 2.
No, 3.
No, 3. We have had 3, because I just uploaded the third one. We've had 3 episodes of the. Yeah, I died in the lake. Spoilers. If you guys watch Drinks and Discussions, just anything goes. So spoilers will happen. You gotta go watch all
Drinks and Spoilers.
Drinks and Spoilers, yeah. But yeah, going into what you were saying. Sorry to get off topic here, but you know, in the one-shot series that are going on, you could do stuff like that, and like say we're playing My King's Crossing one, and your characters are, I don't know, we'll say involved in the piracy stuff going on out in the archipelago, harassing, maybe you guys are harassing the Bugbear fleet that other people have interacted with, or maybe you guys are a part of the Emerald Enclave and you get to learn more about the Emerald Enclave. Pickles, does that name sound familiar?
It sounds like a mix between Fallout and between the Merchants Guild that Grunkle originally was at in the town, where he had friends who said, yeah, they were like, "Hey, Grunkle, we have this jewelry. You have a connection at the Merchant Guild." And I said, "No, Emerald Conclave."
Enclave. I think it was Enclave.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
I wrote.
I came up with a different name. I said Emerald something.
It was Emerald something. I was like,
I came up with the name Emerald.
No.
In King's Crossing, I came up with the name Emerald something. I can't even remember what it was. And then he messed it up and called them the Emerald Enclave. And I was like, no, I like that way better. Let's change it. It's Emerald Enclave now. And I was like, that works because that was the Merchants Guild that Grunkle was a part of in my other campaign.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I brought stolen jewelry to them, thinking it was. Right, and the captain of the guard was there being like, "Oh, what are you here for, Grunkle?" And I'm like, "My friend has bought me some jewelry and I'm here to sell it."
He was like, "Oh,
and then he was
introduce
like,
me to your friends."
Yeah, did your friends get this jewelry last night? I'm like, "Hell yeah, they did."
Oh, from that market that they also set on fire? Hell yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, probably. Yeah. That makes the most sense to me."
And
I'm here to sell it.
It didn't. Like, it didn't end well.
You sweet little angel soul. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go sell it, and I'll at the bar. And then he's like, okay, and he shows up the bar, and everybody's like, oh, what the fuck? And then he's like, I have my plus 15 paladin sword. You guys are screwed.
And then Grunkle's like, very good at telling stories here, but yeah, basically the knight captain of the most holy city of knights was hanging out at the Emerald Enclave. I was like, oh, hey, Grunkle, what's going on? What do you got?
Grunkle talks to everybody. Grunkle's a good hero.
Some jewelry my friends found yesterday. Meanwhile, the knight captain is there investigating stolen jewelry from yesterday. He's like, where are these friends?
The cool thing about me as a person and a player is I always set people up to just slam dunk on everything.
Well,
even if it screws me over.
It didn't have to go the way it went, but basically, super elite knight captain, max level guy, who's friends with Grunkle, like was totally friendly with Grunkle. They
resisted arrest and I didn't.
Basically showed up and was like, "Hey, can I ask you guys some questions?" And they're like, "Attack!" And he was like, "You're dead."
Summon Golem attack, and then also sneak attack Blade in the kidney attack. Yep. He's like, "No." He just
shrugged it off. He's like, "I'm level like 20. Stop. Go to jail."
Yeah. Bad times.
Yeah, that campaign crashed.
And then I got my dick chopped off.
Well, then the player who screwed over Grunkle was like, "You're the worst DM ever. I'm leaving." And I was like, "Okay, bye." And then he went over to start his own game and chopped Pickle's dick off.
So in
well,
my
then
world,
he didn't
you
chop
can't
Pickles.
win.
He didn't chop off Pickle's dick. He chopped off his character.
He chopped off my dick. I visited him. He used a knife. It was really painful.
No, I still find I shouldn't, but I feel kind of proud about that because I got called the worst DM and people wouldn't play with me, and then they went to run their own game and did fucking terrible. And I'm like, I guess
Well,
I'm
that's
not
the
so bad
thing.
after all.
Like, he also had warning. Like, he told the other player who played the golem making sorceress. He told that player, "Oh yeah, I'm inspired by Berserker and what's the other manga? There's some other manga
I
that's
don't
like
know.
really, really violent and rape filled.
Oh,
Yeah,
Goblin
Berserker
Slayer?
is Goblin Slayer. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because one of his first adventures had a bunch of goblins, and he was like, "It's just like Goblin Slayer." And I'm like, I don't get that.
Hmm.
And the other player sent him a message saying, "So Pickles is not going to like this. He's not going to like any of this. Tone it down."
Real
He's like,
quick,
"No,
shout
it's
out to
okay."
what I said. Relationship with your DM, being on the same page, knowing your players
Yeah.
and what they want.
And if I can do a little tangent with that, cleric. The cleric is the class I think that requires the most trust with your DM, because the DM could just be like, "Oh no, your god says fuck you," and that's the ultimate break of trust as a cleric. Is if your GM just decides you've failed, then you lose all of your class abilities, right?
I've done it.
And so that's the one where it's like you need to have a good understanding with the person running the game, like what are the rules, how do I play my character, and I think even like further than wizardry, or well, I was gonna say wizards, but I
Warlock.
went to wizardry. Yeah, like, well, warlock too actually fits in the same as cleric. Is you require a level of trust that you aren't going to have the rugs like yanked out from underneath you, unless it's like, I know that if I break this vow of chastity, then I lose my paladin rules or powers, I should say.
You can even tie that in with fighters. You make this fighter, and then all of a sudden you have a spear through your arm, and you can't hold a sword.
Okay, yes, you could say that, but
Poor Grunkle.
you did other things to maintain my trust.
I had to fix it. It was a botch. It wasn't on purpose. It was a misread of the rules. It'll be fixed going forward.
Yeah, and I think like it was humbling, and there were difficult times. And I think with any given story, you need to have that moment where the players are like, "Oh fuck, things are actually bad," because if a story without like conflict to that degree isn't a story worth telling.
How are you going to enjoy the good if you didn't earn it and you've never experienced bad? So everything's good, and you're just like, yeah, that's just normal.
You should feel at some point during a good adventure like that you're on edge a bit. Like you should be able to have like the paper tiger as something to be like, yeah, we kick ass, we can handle things. You should have
I don't
like
want to talk about that.
you should have the obstacles where it's like, okay, we have other uses beyond fighting. You should have things where like you can go in and then address a solid fight and be able to like attack. And I'm just gonna reiterate here before anybody looks up clips of me that haven't been made. This is all me just being like, this is what I believe in, and putting that into a game is very difficult. You can say everything you want, you can have all the platitudes you want about how to run a game, but putting it into an actual game with this is the story I want to tell is very difficult. And especially if you're not familiar with the system, but even once you're familiar with the system, it's like, how do you want to tell certain stories? And I want to just share a moment from my Supers game. So I'm in a Supers game on Saturdays. There's a strength character who's like very big. He does damage with every hit. He hits, he kicks ass, he does tons of damage. We have a character who can control water, they can fly, they can make a shield, they can blast water at people and do damage at a distance. And then you have me, who is super speed. I can hit like tons of people in a round, and like I can go in a line and just hit like everybody in some cases, but I don't do much damage. And my goal there is to do like status effects on them, like trip them, stun them, that kind of thing. And so the last session, we had this attack where we were hit with 12 different enemies that couldn't really deal damage on their own. It was D4 minus D8 worth of damage. So if you're calculating, that's a lot of zeros to a maximum of 3 damage. They weren't really intended to like kill us or anything, but 12 enemies on 3 characters with an action point economy really, really made it difficult for us. And that was a moment where like the strong guy, he hits one, it's dead. But that's not really like whittling it down at all. And so I was able as like a player there to fly through, hit a ton of them at the same time, and give that benefit to the group. And so that's one of the situations that, like, the other players were like, "Oh, that was really difficult. That was frustrating. That wasn't a well-built scenario." And I'm like, "No, it was built for this guy," where I was able to show my value to the group after several sessions of everybody being like, "Oh, Rabbit is kind of borderline worthless. Like, she goes up, she punch, no damage because the guy's really tough, and then the big tough guy goes and punches." So I feel like I may have lost my original point, but like, it's really difficult to make situations that are beneficial to all three players of that group. You have to be very complicated and have like a big tank for the tank guy to hit. You have to have a bunch of small enemies for the quick enemy to hit, or quick character to hit. And you have to have things that are ranged for the water character to hit. And I feel like you can say all these things that you want as to what a D&D game should be and how like adventures should be built and how encounters should be built, but getting down to it can be very difficult and very much hit and miss. Because Wrath, the encounter that you were talking about that led me onto this journey, you put in effort with each enemy. You gave them all different weapons and therefore different abilities. Like, there was thought put into it. Mm-hmm. You thought going in there like that was a well-rounded situation. Each player can be like, I want to go after the axe guy, or
for reference, he's talking about the in King Trussing, the A Alpha group. They encountered some bandits who were chasing Wilfur through the forest.
Yes, and you gave them each different weapons, which to me as a player is, which one do you think is more threatening? Axe, sword, spear?
Or the ranger in the back who's just able to keep hitting you while his front line
that dickbag with the spears, I think, or
javelins.
Did he have a bow?
Yeah, javelins he was throwing at you.
That's right.
Yeah. Which you have one through your arm and completely fucked your character. So.
Yeah, no, it did, and that was why I don't think you necessarily messed up on that. It was very grim and perilous. It showed us what the threats are. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get a spear through the arm again because that was a nightmare.
Yeah. Basically, for reference, it limited him to one action point, which means he could either move or attack.
Yeah, and I can't do my charge with my run amok, which is a character trait, and it's like, you took my class away from me.
Basically took his entire class away. It was not...
Well,
it was a failure. It was a failure of the system because that's not what the rules meant. I misread them, and it was a failure to your character in that regard. However, story-wise, it works out because you guys are supposed to start as nobodies who aren't heroes, but you're supposed to grow in power and become better. And that just gave me, like, where you guys were going to start here and go up to here, you're now starting here, way down below, and going up to there. So it gives you way more progression and way more power gain. So that's cool. So it kind of worked out.
I'm going to slap some people with... once I have a giant sword, I'm going to be cleaving.
Yeah. I don't want to give away any spoilers.
Yes, I will be cleaving.
I don't want to give away... Well, you guys...
If I have a giant sword, agree with me, I will be cleaving.
You had options to grab weapons, and you guys just walked away. You guys were like, man, we really want some weapons. Let's just leave all these bandits and their weapons right here, and let's go look for some weapons.
You also didn't think of that.
I didn't. Yeah, I can't make
come
fun
on
of you guys.
down here, me the wall.
I
get in the walling
pit. Because we, like, I think it was like 2 sessions later or something. It was when you guys walked back through that area that I was like, there were weapons there. You guys didn't loot anything. I didn't even realize that. I was like, oh.
I'm not a looter. I don't like touching dead bodies.
Tiger would be so disappointed in you.
I don't like touching dead things. And I feel like every character I play has that bias.
Could be. But not to give away any spoilers, but a potential sword for Grunkle has been touched by one of the players so far. I'll say that.
Adise, tell me more. No, tell me more. Adise, okay, come on.
Let's just say
without wrath, just you and me.
Okay, I'll just cover my ears.
Cover your ears.
Yeah, tell me about the sword.
So it's a big sword.
Is it a girl sword or a boy sword?
Oh, I mean, my ears are covered.
I only use girl swords.
Okay, good, because this one didn't have a shaft on it.
Okay, good.
No.
I clutch it with both hands.
Basically, this group A, has been like, man, we really want some more gear in the town. What was the first thing you guys did when you arrived in town?
Oh, did you guys
Not
start
you,
up a
not
general
you.
store?
What was the first thing you guys did when you arrived in town?
First thing that we did was we talked to the elder.
Yep. Besides that, we won't talk about that. That was great. Probably my favorite thing. But what was the second thing you guys did as soon as
Second thing we did was we helped them move shipment barrels of the Emerald Enclave to kind of the town square area where the bazaar was.
Oh, so you're saying a shipment came in?
Oh yes, a shipment did.
A shipment of goods came into town while Group A was out on an adventure. You can't see his reaction, but he ran away to cry, laugh. So yeah, it's basically the entire their adventure. They're like, man, we really wish there was more gear we could like loot and buy and stuff in town. And then the first thing you guys did when you arrived in town was bring in a bunch of gear and loot for them. So that's where that was kind of tied in. That kind of goes back to my point of you guys are going to be indirectly interacting with each other and affecting each other's games.
Mm-hmm.
But that also could screw people because say they're doing a quest for Griff. They're doing a quest for Griff. They go out on this quest for Griff. You guys come into town and they're like, we killed Griff. They come back to town and they're like, Griff, we helped you do this quest.
Griff's dead.
Griff's dead. Like,
Uh-oh.
Well, what
so
the
you're
hell?
saying that I should go and light those boxes on fire?
I think someone might be waiting on all these shipments we just brought in. Let's throw them in the mud pits. Make them go in the mud for them, right, Pickles?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you hear all that?
Yes, I have my headphones on.
I have my head.
Meant to mute my microphone, but I guess I was just urinating out of all my tears.
Oh yeah, that's what I was wondering what that sound was.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
No, I didn't. Thankfully, we probably talked over all of it. I don't know.
Okay, good. Well, if you guys hear a waterfall in the background, that sounds very angry.
I'll just edit in.
Well, it's like
chasing waterfalls.
Yeah, if it's like, yes, there are things in town. If that's what you hear in the waterfall.
That's what you were narrating.
Yeah, it's like
waterworks. Yeah, so that's what I mean by your characters. Your parties are going to be. You guys aren't able to play at the same time on the same day. That's why I'm running 2 groups, by the way. It's only 4 players. I could run them all in one group, but player availability, they're not available on the same day at the same time, so I'm running 2 groups, and you guys won't be able to directly interact with each other unless all of a sudden Pickles is like, hey, I'm here on a Tuesday, let me play with you guys. Perfectly fine.
I will never be on time.
Maybe you show up late. You just need to let me know so that I have cameras kind of ready to, because that's going to be a whole thing with the stream. But you guys will always be able to indirectly affect each other because you are in the same area, same world, same kind of stuff going on. Poor Griff, though.
Yeah, he's going to be dead.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I don't know if their party would be capable of killing him. They tried to tip over a barrel and failed, so.
We failed tipping over a barrel.
The biggest challenge Nimwort had, besides drowning, was trying to open a barrel. He couldn't do it. He was like, yeah. And then Adis is like, here, I'll help you push this over the edge, and then just gets punched or kicked in the face.
No, I had already been kicked over on the edge, and I was reaching up to use my full body weight to pull the thing over.
Basically, he's in the water after being drop kicked in the face, or Spartan kicked in the face. Nimword's on top of the boat. They're trying to push this barrel into the water so they have something to float on so they don't drown. Neither of them could, even helping each other, they couldn't get this barrel off the boat.
Well, they are tiny folk, and maybe they would appreciate a grunkle from time to time.
Yeah, maybe they would appreciate a grunkle showing up. You guys need a barrel? I've got one on my back.
It's like, oh my gosh, we have so much work for you to do. Come to our warehouse. It's like I get over there and they're like, we have so many pallets that need to be moved. I was like, oh.
We can't continue our quest because all our materials are sitting over here and we need them over here and none of us can move them.
Grunkle can spend hour doing this, but Grunkle actually have a tight schedule. And no. Just you're a hero, right? Yes, but
we'll build you a sword.
Heroism doesn't. Okay, well, a sword, yes, I'll move boxes.
It would be interesting because I'm trying to figure out, because obviously you guys, I don't know where the story's going to go and what you guys decide to do, but say you guys get a fort, a castle. I'll call it castle so that way I don't sound like Ford. You guys get a castle and you guys are working there. Obviously, like if they go secure the castle, Group A goes and secures the castle because they're fighters and stuff. They go and clear it out, make sure it's safe, and then you guys move in and like turn it into a home. Obviously, you'd be like, you wouldn't just show up and be like, wow, this castle just randomly got cleared out now all of a sudden by random people we've never met. Let's just take it over. And then there wouldn't be like, hey, we just cleared up this entire castle and then some midgets just walked in here and made it a home. Like, I mean, that's awesome, but maybe you guys would like meet each other. So I got to figure out as a DM, like how I'm going to have you guys meet each other without ever playing together. Because I don't want one thing that is rarely ever allowed, and it's not allowed because players abuse it. You're good. Is when, say they're not around, say Group A isn't around, and you guys are like, hey, I'm like, hey, Grunkle's standing. You guys see an ogre standing over there, and you guys go and interact with him. It's not fair for me to play his character because I could screw it up, or you guys are like, we get mad at him and kill him, and then I'm sitting here like, you can't do that. Like, he's not here. And so that's where it's a tough, like, how do you meet them and know of them without ever playing together? Maybe sometimes there will be crossovers where they are able to play with you guys, but in the case that they don't, how do you guys ever meet each other? Because you'd obviously have to meet each other.
When is their session?
Sunday nights. Same
Sunday night?
Yeah, I think it's you guys have your in-person game. So theirs is,
but ours is only like a so ours is only like a bi-weekly schedule. So we might be able to fit something in there where Nimwort and Adarag come in and meet up with Torvekic and Grunkle on a Sunday night.
Or even if, say Nimward's not around, Adarag is like, I'm free on a Sunday night. I'm not in their group. I want to go play with them. And you meet them. And then later on, you could be like, yeah, so I know this ogre and this dwarf who just took over this castle. They invited us to go check it out. And then, boom, there you go. You guys are able to get into the castle and we can continue on.
They could use a few trade goods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
They need a merchant to bring in trade goods, and they need.
Yes. That's exactly the thing I want.
Well, shit. Turns out someone made a character who isn't a merchant, but could be a merchant.
Please make this town a home.
And what was it? I think Torvekic wants to start a bar.
Yeah, I'm down for that because I don't want to run a bar.
But you want to hang out in a bar.
I want to have choices of bars.
I know this has totally become a King's Crossing game talk, but you guys are both in we're on King's Crossing, so it's easy to talk about.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about
Strange Town Golden Ridge.
Yes, that.
Mines of Fandelver.
Yeah, well, that was part of my plan was to talk about Mines of Fandelver, but you guys didn't have a game this week.
Yeah, no, we're kind of doing a bi-weekly schedule.
Yeah, so that's where I was like, hey, tell me about your game this week. And he's like, there isn't one. And I was like, oh. That's always confusing me when you're like, would it be bi?
Is that twice a week or
no? It's
twice a month.
Every 2 months. Once every 2 weeks.
So that would be bi-monthly.
That's what I was thinking. I think it was bi-monthly.
Because bi-weekly would be twice a weekly.
Bi-monthly, 2 month. Bi-weekly, 2 week. That'd be King's Crossing as bi-weekly.
I'm going to look it up, actually.
Because King's Crossing would be Tuesday and Sunday, except Sundays it's only occasionally because other games
But it's 2 different groups.
Yeah.
Bi-weekly
for me.
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
So bi-weekly, aka fortnightly.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Occurring twice a week.
Okay. So every other week is when we
bi-weekly.
So far,
bi-weekly.
That
I
may
like
change
that.
going forward, but as of right now, that's our kind of our schedule. Is
That's
every
it for
other
now.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering, if I can tell you guys a short story. I was completely sober at this time, as opposed to, yes, the drinks I've been discussing with myself. So I was entirely sober at the reception for my wedding, because, yes, I am married. I have a delightful tentacle ring.
You just gotta rub it in our faces, man. I
Yes.
swear.
I'm
Yeah.
just a
Good
little
for
sweetie pie.
you.
So my brother does a speech to everybody, all of my family, all of my friends. My handsome friend Rath was there. He was
there.
also at my bachelor party, and he made my bachelor party very fun. He's always a great person to invite to your bachelor party. Yes, you had a dance-off versus Robert, and my cousin got involved, but you smoked them both. And then my cousin wandered off and got lost.
I
Anyways,
don't know. Next bachelor party you have, you gotta invite Adis.
well, I'm not gonna have another one.
We could have like, I don't know.
Anyways,
when you have like your 10, what are the anniversaries? Your 10, 20 year anniversary? We could do like a 10-year bachelor party anniversary.
So I'm at my own wedding reception.
Anyways.
Like, we did a courtroom wedding, and then we're doing a reception for all the family to get together. We have food. It was really, really nice. Everything was good. It's in my parents' backyard. Everything was decked out. We had salmon from up in north in Alaska, because I have Alaska family that came down there. Like, just have some salmon on us.
Classic Alaskans. I lived there for 4 years. That's so true. They'll just send down like shipments, like buckets of it. Like, here.
Well, and I have people in Alaska that have boats. Some of them fishermen. Some of them are just like, we like boats.
It's classic.
It's classic, and so it was really nice because it's really clean, delicious salmon. But so I just want to set the stage. My brother does a speech. It's kind of like, thank you everybody for coming here. This is my brother, and everything, and he just kind of rambled on. And I was like, okay, yeah. And so I wanted to go in and say something as well, and I did. My mom videotaped it, and I refused to watch it because I hate everything about how it ended. I did perfectly. I was just saying a thanks to everybody, and apparently it's really, really impressive. And then at the end, I wanted to say, and everybody feel free to continue hanging around.
I remember this.
And linger and mingle. But I didn't say that, did I? I said, and everybody feel free to stay around and minger.
It ruined his entire speech.
And I'm like,
the entirety of his epic, awesome speech went swimmingly, and he ended on that. That's
what you call a critical failure.
Yeah. Ruined.
You do perfectly, and then the last word. Oh, God. And my mom says she watches it regularly. Like, do you hate me?
Have her send that to me.
No.
I forgot about that. I remember that. Yeah.
It's so painful.
Everybody died laughing.
Just me. I don't remember why I decided to share that, but I feel like we were.
I don't know either, honestly. Oh, because you just messed up another word.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I was stumbling, and I wanted to share the worst time I stumbled.
Yeah. Leakwee.
I'm a loser.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Leakwee.
Leakwee.
Yeah. I was thinking of when we were playing Plate Up.
Oh no.
We're in the middle of Plate Up. This is a video game you get with a bunch of friends and you run a kitchen. And we're playing this game and we have this new person. Well, longtime viewer of the channel, huge supporter, is one of my longest time subscribers.
Oh no.
Comes in and is like, I want to play with you guys. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You can come play with us. And so they come in and join us. And we're all talking, just having a little session, just going back and forth. And all of a sudden, Pinkles in the background just goes, what do you say? Like, Violet, you are terrible or something.
No, I said you're fucking worthless.
That's what he is.
And I paused because I was like,
oh my God, he goes,
let's go back through the bill here. Like, because obviously my brain is an accounting brain. Let's go back through this. Okay, the purchase order was a funny joke.
No,
and then we got the item receipt, we got everything in there, and then we missed a lot of
It was
stuff,
so
and it was just,
perfect.
you are fucking worthless.
Yeah, so
And I
it's
was
just
wait a minute.
we're all having a
there's no
conversation.
punchline.
We're all having
Wait,
a
what's that?
conversation back and forth, and then it just goes silent, and you hear, Violet, you are fucking worthless. And then we go back to talking, and you just hear Chison in the background go, whoa, Pickles? And I'm just dead silent, like, what the fuck just happened?
I would never say that.
No, it was a total slip up. It was hilarious.
I meant to make an actual joke, and it just came out like, and I
You're fucking worthless.
messaged them afterwards, like,
Yeah.
honestly, you are not worthless. Please do not believe anything I say.
Everyone knew
a
it
great
was
person.
yes,
You were
it was.
fun to have around, and I was like, God, you're never going to join us again because you know that some asshole named Mr. Goddamn Cucumber is going to be like,
Oh man,
You
it was
don't-
so perfect.
you don't deserve to live.
That's right.
It's like, God, you can't say that to people. Why? Why is my mouth stupid?
I'm over here like, Violet, you're terrible. You're like, no, it was Violet, you were fucking worthless. So much worse.
I felt so much guilt there because I meant for there to be a joke.
Everyone knew
I
it
meant
was
for
a
it to be a
slip up.
lighthearted joke
Everyone
somewhere.
knew, yeah, everyone knew it was a slip up, and it was all in good fun. We were laughing. Like it was great. That's where I was thinking you were talking about, bilequy, and I was like, yeah, Pickles has a couple of word slip ups. That one's probably my favorite.
Freudian slip.
Yeah. God, I wish someone had clipped it. But
That was so awful.
it
I hope they didn't.
It was the worst, but it was so funny because it was so obvious that it was a mess up. Like, no way would Pickles ever just be like, "Wow, I fucking hate you." Like,
I literally rolled d20s for
Oh.
everything in my life because my DM sucks.
no, it was great.
I get a lot of those ones.
It was great. I was so happy. I was like, "That's the best part of this."
Yeah,
entire
people
stream.
laughed.
Yeah.
Everybody was laughing, and I'm pretty sure the person I said that to was just cackling
Oh,
about
they
it. 'cause
were
it was
dying.
like,
Everyone was dying.
ugh,
It was so good.
worse.
Oh man, you guys want to wrap up?
Yeah. Yes, on that note.
Great note to end on. Bilequy. All right.
Bilequy ends it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, thanks for watching Dirty Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast, where we discuss RPGs. A bunch of guys get together, we have drinks, we hang out, and discuss RPGs and stuff. So, huge shout out to the cast. Thank you guys for showing up, making this show what it is. It wouldn't be anything without you guys. So, I really do appreciate it. You guys, I'll do my quick shout out. I got a bunch. You guys can catch this going on every Monday here on the live stream. You can also catch all of this going on YouTube. All of this gets uploaded to YouTube, so you can catch everything there if you missed it. Tuesdays. God, it's so hard to describe this. Tuesdays and Sundays, we run King's Crossing, a Zweihander campaign run by myself, featuring 2 different groups. However, those are intermittent games, intermittently switched out with one of Pickle's games. I'll let him tell you guys about that. I also have a Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough with Adis and Tough Nuts going on, as well as potential other RPG Let's Plays going on, hopefully with Mr. Pickles, hopefully some more with Adis. I've really enjoyed getting him on the show, getting to learn more about him and getting to play with him. We actually met at, I think the first time we met was Tough Nuts Bachelor Party.
I think so.
I've
Maybe,
heard of you.
once.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
of you a lot because you and Tough Nuts have been friends forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard of him a lot, but I doubt. I mean, we might have met when you were like a young kid.
I think you may have stopped by P-Town for a little while, and
Possibly.
and we may have hooked up there, but
Damn.
Whoa! Insider information.
Just gonna go to jelly school over here.
but yeah, definitely bachelor parties where we first got to like really hang out.
Really bro up. Yeah, he's a great guy. We were the only 2 single people there, so we just kind of hung out and kind of broed up and became good
Nice.
friends. But yeah, so anyways, got a lot of stuff going on. All of this gets uploaded to YouTube. You can check it all out there. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'm going to pass it off to both of these guys. They both got some stuff going on. Adis, yours is probably shorter. Why don't you talk about yours?
Sure. Yep. So, Adis, I'll be here tomorrow evening for King's Crossing, and then I will have some Baldur's Gate 3 Let's Plays coming out. More here soon. Soon to follow.
Hopefully.
Yep. And then I've also got Tough Nuts is DMing campaign where I'm a player. That's a in-person campaign. It's not going to be streamed anywhere, but we'll definitely bring it up and talk about it here on Drinks and Discussions when we have new material to show you guys.
Bi-weekly game.
Bi-weekly. That's going to be our every other week. It's bi-weekly.
This is going to be quoted as the bi-weekly episode.
Well, I'm going to have to title it.
Every YouTube comment, just bi-weekly.
Yeah. That's
I pay my taxes bi-weekly.
Yep, that's the only thing you could comment. It has to be something including the word bi-weekly.
Like, subscribe.
You pay your taxes bi-weekly? That's
kiss
terrible.
My wife bi-weekly.
I hope you kiss her more than that.
You know what? I drive a week bi-weekly.
You drive what?
You drive a leak?
Okay. Mr. Pickles, why don't you tell us about what you got going on?
Yes, okay. So I am Mr. Pickles. I play Grunkle in the Sunday game of King's Crossing.
Queen's Crossing.
Man,
I should change. I should change. One of you is in King's Crossing, the other one should be in Queen's Crossing, and that way I could tell the two groups apart.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That'd be genius.
Anyways, Grunkle, King's Crossing on Sunday. I play the Barbarian, but when I don't, we also switch off between adventures, and we have my campaign, Strange Town of Golden Ridge. It's where we have a bunch of detectives trying to figure out what's going on in a horrible town in the Pacific Northwest. There's strange things happening, creatures crawling out of the ground, and what is this in the woods? Mushroom monsters and angry squirrels? All kinds of weird things happening. Mimes hanging from trees because people don't apparently like mimes as much as I do. And we'll find out what happens when the party follows mimes into the woods next time on that game. I also do a podcast, of course, and I took that personally on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts. It's about myself and Brad, aka Chison, who was the GM for the last one shot. You might enjoy that because he's there. We talk about movies. Talk about movies a lot. We take things personally. We complain about things, and we have a good time. And that's
I've not had a chance to listen to your last episode, the most recent one. But tomorrow I have to do like an hour and a half drive. So I'm going to be throwing it on then. So I'll have more words for you this week.
Okay, yeah, it's the weirdest of our episodes. So.
Oh, great! You've had some weird ones, so that'll be interesting. I think so far the burp has stood out of all your episodes.
Yeah, that's Brad's editing.
Chison edited that one. I thought so. Yeah. We should edit that out, and he was like, "No."
He spent a lot of work making it less disgusting.
Oh, did he? He dumbed it down for the viewership so you guys didn't get censored?
Well, apparently it was pretty bad. Well, like I burped and the microphone was like right here.
Oh, God.
And I thought it was muted. Yeah, it was... I'm sorry. It was pretty bad. And I was like, oh, dang it. And he left it all in.
Thank you guys for hanging out. That's it from us. My name is Wrath. Huge shout out to these guys. They're wonderful. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.
Cheers.